Welcome in to Check the Mic, presented by FanDuel. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube. Apologies to the live YouTube audience. If you're watching on replay, you didn't notice anything. A little delayed for the live audience, though.
Yeah. The building apparently lost power sometime yesterday. Took some time to put it back up again, and somehow that killed the tech.
Killed everything.
Completely.
Killed the whole thing. But we're back. We're live. We're earlier than we were last year. So, working through. Always just working through stuff in the new studio. But appreciate everybody being here live. A couple things right off the top. It's our Week 3 NFL preview. We'll be going game by game. We have to do a little do we have to talk about where we are right now with our picks? And also
we have the update every week.
We have a membership update.
We do that every week.
A very important membership update as well.
Yeah, well, let me give you the updates for the various leagues we have. We've got 2 leagues going all season long. We have a Survivor Pool and a Pick'em League that we're in our Discord. Different this year from previous years because we've got more people in them. So 500 members in each one, which is the maximum we could have in each league. We still have 456 of the 500 people in the Survivor Pool still alive. And I don't know how many of the people that are out forgot to make a pick, like Circa. So almost nobody has failed so far in the Survivor Pool.
Huge.
The Pick'em Pool, somebody called Ross PCR stands atop the Pick'em Pool solo after 2 weeks with 25 wins. 2 people are second with 24. I have 18, so I'm 7 back already from the lead. Tied for 214th, so I'm at least in the top half of the league. Harry has 15 wins. I forget where that tied him. You had 11 wins, which ties you for 474th. And I remember now what I was doing before I was sidetracked trying to fix the studio. I was checking how many of the people that officially ranked below you only because they forgot to enter that week and didn't put in any of their picks, because it was quite a lot. It might have been all of them. What I'm saying is you might actually be dead-ass last of this Pick'em Pool. Again.
How am I doing it again?
Again.
Against the spread.
Yeah.
I got to trust my numbers from now on. I don't know. I don't even want to pick anymore. Just want to quit. Why am I even picking games? Doesn't really matter.
Maybe we should set up another.
The important thing is the analysis.
Yeah.
The analysis, not the who wins and loses against the spread.
Keep telling yourself that. Maybe we should set up an extra Pick'em League that just picks straight up. You know, because you were good at that.
I was very good at straight up.
You can tell someone who's going to win the game. Apparently, you just can't tell them by how much.
I was award-winning against the spread. Picking games.
Yeah, but as soon as we had to pick against the spread, you became literally the worst picker that humanity has ever seen.
Overthinking the points. We also have the very first Howard Hughes Billionaire membership. The first ever sign-up. So we might have a name for the studio soon.
Yeah. So a big shout out to Drew Collins, who was our Billionaire Howard Hughes tier inaugural billionaire. So we said one of the things you get at that is you get to name the studio, whatever you want.
Can't wait to hear
whatever you want. Within reason. Let's at least throw that caveat
for at least
there.
A period of time, because I assume there'll be multiple billionaires coming in, and we'll rotate naming rights. There's still the Jeff Ruby could swoop in and say, I want it. We should see if Jeff Ruby wants in the billionaire tier.
Yeah, but we haven't heard from Drew yet, so he needs to email in, check the mic at the33rdteam.com, and let us know what he wants to name the studio.
All right, great stuff up top, including my awful record. We ready to go?
Yeah.
Appreciate Drew Collins, by the way, for joining. First of many. Don't forget the memberships. You hit the plus or hit the join. You can check it out. All the 3 tiers. We had some good name recommendations. Finally, for the Superfan tier, I liked there was the Mike Checkers and the Mike Backers.
The Mike Backers is good.
Mike Backers. I kind of like that.
Has some legs.
It rolls with the double entendre of our name. Check the Mike.
Right. It's clever.
It is very clever, and I think that's the leader in the clubhouse.
Yes.
The Mike Backers. So we will, or you say Mike Backers, right? So it could be both.
Right.
Right.
It's
You're
clever.
back in the Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have to explain it. You know what it is. It's
do.
a double entendre.
Yep.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
We're going game by game here, starting with Thursday Night Football. Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. Bills are favored by 11.5. Hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Yeah. Like Armageddon. Don't want to miss a thing.
Don't want to miss a thing.
Hit the subscribe.
Aerosmith.
Bills by 11.5 here. So this game looked better, I think, Well, we weren't really high on the Dolphins coming into the season anyway, but looked better a couple years ago. This is one of those games, though, 2-0 Buffalo versus 0-2 Miami, where you say, okay, is it going to be that bad? Is it an automatic beatdown? If this was in Miami in September, I would think maybe a little bit of a closer game. But Buffalo's depth is already being challenged. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, both out on the defensive side. They've got a couple other guys banged up. What are your thoughts on this Thursday night football game here?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Miami reacts to that game because had they managed to find a way of winning that, I think they could have potentially sparked something. The offense did look much better. It was getting some stuff done. The defense obviously had been a complete disaster. But I'm kind of curious, does it all just disappear because they didn't? Because they found a way of losing the game, because Devon Achane, stepped just out of bounds, because the defense couldn't get a stop, all those things. Is it just nothing but pure bad vibes at this point? And if it is, like against Buffalo, who look like one of the best teams in the league, this could get ugly.
Yeah, you're dealing with a team in Buffalo leading the league. I mean, it's through 2 weeks. Take all the 2-week stats with a grain of salt, obviously. But number one,
I mean everything. It's
number one in points per game, 35.5, and the Dolphins second to last in point differential, -31. But it's early, and even though we weren't terribly high on the Dolphins, I think I'm seeing the odds in other places up to 12.5 here. They're 11.5 right now as of at FanDuel. Over under, by the way, 49.5, expecting a lot of points. I'm struggling to see how Miami's going to slow down the Buffalo Bills
at all
defensively. Yeah. And then on the other side of it, even when the Dolphins were at their best, even when they were doing a nice job against lesser teams, and the narrative that we would continue to push was, hey, the Dolphins beat up on bad teams, they struggle against good teams. And then Buffalo in particular did a really nice job compressing the middle of the field, taking away the throws that Tua would hit, those little quick in cuts behind the linebackers. Buffalo did as good of a job as any team at taking those away, forcing turnovers from the Dolphins, basically the same way that Tua has been playing these last couple weeks. Buffalo made him do that in most of their matchups, in most of their games. So, yeah, Buffalo, I think, they match up well against the Dolphins. They match up well in Buffalo, and both teams seemingly moving in different directions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's got a big point spread already, and it feels like it might not be enough. Buffalo's offense, I can't see a way the Dolphins even slow them down unless they do something dramatically different than they've been doing the first couple of weeks. Then you just go back to the other side of the ball and you say, well, can Tua have like a perfect game where he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, where they actually execute in rhythm? Devon Achane's going to need to make a couple of big plays as well. It basically comes down to, can that group of skill position players do anything to even keep the game close, or is it just going to be a one-sided beatdown?
Yeah, I'm mostly worried about Miami's defense slowing down Buffalo. I think their defensive front has not shown up to play, including the edge rushers, who we said on paper they should at least be good. Defensive tackles, they're young. They might be finding their way along with Zach Sealer, but disappointed by Miami's defensive front. Buffalo's got that offensive line, the continuity up front. They ran the ball extremely well last week with James Cook. I think they could do that again. And they always have the break Josh Allen glass in case of emergency. This feels like one of those games where they could just kind of let him play, read it out from a pass game perspective, not lean into him in the run game a ton. Just let's hand it off, get the backs involved, and save a couple hits on Allen in this one. But then if they need to, if it's close, toward the end, you break out some Josh Allen run game.
Yeah. That's the thing. They've always got that in case it ever does get reasonably close. But honestly, it's hard to find a reason why this game should be close at all. Unfortunate though that is for Miami fans.
Jalen Waddle's banged up, but I keep coming back to that piece, which is in any given game, Tyreek Hill's still explosive. He showed that he can make some plays down the field last week. Jalen Waddle can make plays down the field if he's healthy and good to go. So that's always the equalizer for me with the Dolphins, is they can at least make plays down the field. And as I said, Buffalo's depth being challenged with Ed Oliver and Matt Milano out. Ironically, they brought in Shaq Thompson as a veteran linebacker depth. He's banged up as well. They loaded up on corners in the draft and in free agency. And, they're just beat up in a couple different spots like they have been the last couple of years, but I don't know if that's going to be enough here.
No, I can't find a particularly good reason why it would be.
All right, man. 11.5 right now. Where are you going to go with this one?
Lines are already getting pretty big, double-digit lines, or at least in and around double digits in a few of these games. I honestly, even though that's a big line, it's a division game, I'm going with the Bills to cover it.
I'm also going to go with the Bills. I do have Harry's picks for the show here.
I think Buffalo wins by more than 12 points.
Yeah. Plus you get the short week. They're at home. The home field advantage with that. So yeah, I'll take Buffalo to cover, as will Harry. How do you feel when you agree with me now?
I mean, not great given your performance so far, but I think all of us are correct here. I've seen other people say this as well, that there's no line you could put on this game that I wouldn't take Buffalo.
Yeah. It is. I say this every year, though. The week one lines are always much tighter, and then you just get 1 to 2 weeks of evidence, and all of a sudden it's like Miami, bad, Buffalo, great.
I mean, look, this is the kind of statement that can make you look at absolutely ridiculous come Monday, when Miami actually somehow finds a way of winning this game out of nowhere. But this is setting up like the kind of game that could get people fired. Like if Miami gets absolutely annihilated on the road by Buffalo after losing to New England, given the bad vibes around the place at the moment and how bad everything looks, I mean, this is the kind of game that might be difficult to come back from.
That's the tough thing to predict sometimes, though, is the human element of it. Like, will Miami just rally?
Right.
Like, we're not that bad. Let's just rally and let's play. Let's play up.
There are games every year where you go into it and you say there is no reason why this team should win this game. Like none. And they find a way of doing it. There's people talk about parity in the NFL. It is real. Like it's the gap between these teams is pretty small. If the playoffs were done the way they are in other sports, where it's like a best of 7 series or whatever, I think there would be a wild difference in how these. I think you would see the week to week variance of the same teams would be insane. So yeah, as much as we say, look, in almost every simulation, Buffalo is kicking Miami's ass in this game, there's going to be a few where somehow Miami finds a way of doing it against all logic and odds, where they just have the bounce of a ball a couple of times, where they make a couple of plays, where the game script changes really early. It's possible. I just think it's very unlikely.
The chat's 80% on Buffalo to go with you, me, and 10-year-old Harry in the selections here. All right, man, let's go next couple games here. Similar spreads, interesting ones here. Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Giants. This is Sunday Night Football, a battle of the 0-2 Chiefs and the 0-2 Giants. The Chiefs are favored by 5.5, though, still on the road. I did see someone suggest the Chiefs are the early favorite to be the exploding whale team. I think they need about half a season. That's this.
Yeah.
We'll pull it out. When we have an exploding whale game prediction, we'll do something with the hat, like really accentuate that. But it's got to be like week 8 to 10 or something. The Chiefs are sitting there with they only have 3 or 4 wins, and they go and beat up on Buffalo or something. That's their exploding whale game. It's too early. For that.
Nobody's washed up on the beach after 2 games.
That's right.
Except the Dolphins.
Except maybe the Dolphins. It's a good metaphor for a dolphin.
Yeah.
Poor guys.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs at Giants. Intriguing matchup. This is the one. We sat here yesterday. If you missed yesterday's show, we did our Shouty Show takes, and there was the predictable Chiefs dynasty is dead. It's over.
Yep.
It's over. 2 weeks into the season. 3 losses in a row. First time in the Mahomes era, including the playoffs here. It's all over. Let's declare it dead. This is the type of game, though. Even me, Mr. Even Keel. If the Chiefs lose this game, we got to start asking questions. Because then they have Baltimore in week 4. They have Detroit in week 6. This is the game that the Chiefs have to win.
This is where I'm going with my survivor pick this week, because I have absolutely the Chiefs have been one of those teams for years. We got to save them for later in the year. I don't want to save the Chiefs. I don't have any confidence in them this year at all winning games. However, I still think they should beat the Giants. So I want to get them out of the way early. Well, I think it's still a reasonable chance of them winning. Look, I think the point that we were making yesterday is they're not in a good situation right now. They're not in a good space. However, they're still better than forget it. It's time to blow it all up, write them off. They're going to get players back, important players. And these losses, the 0-2 losses, have come against the defending Super Bowl champions who annihilated them the last time they played, right? So they did a lot better this time than they did the last time. And a Chargers team who look like they could be very good as well. So, like, they are probably better than they've looked already just because of who they faced. And they're going to get some players back as the season develops. So I don't think it's quite as bad as it looks right now, but it isn't great.
Yeah, I agree. It's you also add in there's no Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy. I mean, just to add in a lot of different things here. But every metric about the Chiefs through 2 weeks, for whatever it's worth, mediocre team.
Yeah.
They're a mediocre team who's 0-2 because they've played two good teams, as you said.
And there's definitely signal to the idea that Mahomes is playing differently now just through 2 weeks than he usually does, and has basically been saying it publicly. Like, I think I need to start doing some of this running, putting my body on the line, trucking safeties, like the stuff that you normally see from Mahomes in January. He's doing it in September because he thinks the team needs it, and he's right, and it still hasn't been enough. So, like, it's all real is what I'm saying. Like, this is not a great team that's had a couple of unlucky bounces of the ball and they're 0-2. This is a team that is struggling right now, but I think it's a little early to say, just, with that struggle, they're done.
One of those notes from our friends, Next Gen Stats, NFL Pro, Patrick Mahomes averaged the second quickest time to throw in the league this year. 2.47 would be by far the quickest of his career. Previous low was 2.78. But that was his rookie season. He's usually like a 2.8 type of guy. So 2.47 for Mahomes. And scrambling more often, right, to the point where he had 60 yards in the first half.
He's been leading the team for most games.
There's no run game.
For a while.
There's little effectiveness. I saw Mitchell Schwartz, talking about this quote that Andy Reid, Pat likes to play under center, and we're doing that more this year, even though they haven't really. So I'm interested to see what the changes are to this Chiefs offense. Matchup-wise, we've got a great one. Creed Humphrey, Dexter Lawrence, head-to-head. That's great on great when it comes to Chiefs center, Creed Humphrey, and nose tackle Dexter Lawrence. I will keep saying every single week the pass rush of the Giants with Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, they all have a chance to wreck a game. Kansas City's offensive line has been pretty good in pass protection overall. It's probably the best test. I don't know if it's the best test, but it's a good test for Josh Simmons, the rookie left tackle for the Chiefs. So it's probably the best pure pass rush test that they've had. But the Giants' defense has not been great. They've given up a lot on the back end, a little disappointed in their back seven, but I think they have that potential. And then I would say for the Giants, in their perspective, to pull this upset, I'm not, Russell Wilson, completing 5 or 6 downfield throws. I mean, that's not a formula to just throw out there. Like, hey, just if you just complete 5 or 6, 40-yarders every week, you'll be okay.
That's kind of what he's shooting for.
But you should try. I'm just saying this. It's still the Chiefs, and for teams to pull the upset against the Chiefs, which this would be, I think you always have to have this level of aggressiveness, trying to create explosive plays. I want to see Russell Wilson continue to try to attack down the field, and you're going to get. Remember, last week Spags was busting out. All right, we need these all-out blitzes against the Eagles. One of Russ's signature plays. By the way, I saw a stat that I forget. I don't know where the source was, but the Chiefs are 20% cover zero this year. 20% cover zero, no safety help. One of the signature stylistic plays of Russ's career is like, bring cover zero.
Yeah.
I'm going to retreat, throw the fade, knowing there's no safety help, and complete it anyway.
Right.
Just keep an eye when they throw cover zero. Russ is able to hit those deep balls.
Yeah, I mean, massively oversimplifying, but in Russell Wilson's career, the more safeties involved, the worse he plays. If you take safeties out of the middle of the field, like let him back up, let him throw a moon ball, that maximizes the ability of the receiver to, run under the ball, go win the play, and make, when a safety's involved, the time that ball's in the air, the safety can come across, make the play, and if there's multiple safeties, he has a less distance to travel in order to make that play, and the play can look ridiculous from Russell's point of view. So, look, you live by the sword, you die by the sword of that type of defense, but Russell Wilson's the type of quarterback that could exploit it. Now, he's also the type of quarterback that could, throw the ball up and it goes nowhere, either incomplete or intercepted. But like he is playing a massively high variance style of football right now. And we saw that against Dallas where, late in the game, he was only looking for a deep shot. Now, the deep shot had worked a couple of times in that game already, so you can kind of get it. But he went out there with I need to score in this drive. I'm only shooting deep. Like other quarterbacks, again, you go out there let's just take 7 yards. Let's try and get the chains moving, blah, blah, blah. Russ is like, nah, I got 4 shots to get 50 yards. I need one of them, right? I only need to complete 25% of these, and I'm good. That's what he was shooting for. That's wildly high variance. You're going to have some incompletions. You might have some turnovers, or you might have a touchdown on any given play that he heaves deep. Those are wild swings of outcome.
And it was the opposite of week 1, where I was like, it's the same old offense. They're dinking and dunking. Last week's average depth of target was almost 14, throwing the ball.
Jameis on his shoulder.
That was so week 1 was like all the coaches, take care of the ball, just read it out. And then Jameis is over here, Russ.
Close your eyes, heave deep. What's the worst that could happen?
Now, do you think Jameis gets to him? Primetime game. Look, Russ, they think you're cooked. They're not letting you cook. They think you're cooked. It's prime time. Chris Collinsworth in the booth. Chris loves your moon ball. You going to show him the moon ball, Russ? Show him how many times what's the over-under on moon balls?
Yeah, a lot.
Being said. Chris saying it on Sunday Night Football.
Think how much they love Patrick Mahomes. You're just going to sit there and let all the attention go to him?
You going to let Chris talk that guy up?
No.
Right? You got a Super Bowl too.
You do.
Right? You've only lost 1 Super Bowl. He's lost 2.
Yeah.
Right? You show him. He's like, that average depth of target, you get that thing to 16 this Sunday. You get that thing to 16.
Why not?
I love this. It's going to be a fun game. Just one more from I think the Chiefs are going to win, right? I mean, I think they're a better overall team.
Yep.
I think the defense has been a little hit or miss the last couple of weeks, but I think they're still more than capable. They had a good stretch of play against the Eagles last week where that defense was keeping them in the game, much like they did last year. If the Chiefs don't win here, what's at stake here for the Chiefs falling to 0-3?
Then we've got a conversation. If they
with Baltimore coming up next
week.
That's
the thing. So their 2 of their 3 next games are against, winnable, very winnable opponents. If they lose this one, though, with Baltimore on the horizon.
They have Baltimore at Jacksonville, another night game.
And then the Lions.
Right.
So 50% of the next 2 games are very winnable. The other 50% are pretty tough. But the point is, if they lose the winnable one to begin with, and then the Ravens are rocking up, particularly if the Ravens still look like the Ravens, well then, you might be legitimately staring 0-4.
And the Chiefs, to be fair, the Chiefs they've been kind of Ravens kryptonite. It's been in the playoffs.
But that's a good Chiefs team, not one that's lost 3 straight.
Yes,
to begin the season.
And Rashee Rice isn't back until after the Lions game. And so if for some reason you're going to start could you imagine 2-4, 1-5 if you're the Chiefs before Rice gets back? It's almost too late. You could still make a playoff run and sneak into the playoffs. And as you said, who knows what happens then? But man,
where were Cincinnati last year before they went on the run? They were something.
The Rams were 1-5.
Right. It's possible, but that's a really deep hole. The point is, though, this would be the first game if they lost it where you can't make the argument of the opposition. The last 2 times you say, well, look, the Eagles are the Eagles, and the Chargers apparently are extremely good right now. You can't really say that about the Giants. If you don't beat the Giants, well, now you just lost to a not good team.
But I'm just going to say, on the other hand, I think the Giants have more in them. I think they have more in them defensively. If their defense, if they could just cover a little bit better on the back end.
They should have beaten Dallas. But still, you wouldn't be saying, you wouldn't be making excuses for Kansas City because losing to the Giants because, look, the Giants are just that good. This would be the first game this season where you're like, whatever about what the Chiefs are right now, they lost to a team that isn't particularly good this week.
All right, man. It's 5.5. Over/under is just 44.5 in a game where the Giants and Cowboys just put up 100.
Yeah.
5.5 in New York Sunday night. Maybe it gets a little windy over there. Does that tighten the game up here? Where are you going to go with this one? There's a lot on the line here. This Sunday night football game.
There is. And Russ, obviously, every week now is battling just to keep himself in the starting job because I'm pretty convinced that at this point they're only ever a bad half away from saying, Jackson, get in there.
I disagree. I think Russell played really well last week, and I think last week bought him some time. I don't know why. Keep an eye on the Jackson Dart package, him coming in for a few plays here and there, but I think it's Russell Wilson's job for at least a few more weeks.
Maybe. I think the fact that they're throwing him out there randomly indicates they're readying him. and that only accelerates for
Yeah, I think
the
they're
bad
readying him.
play.
I just don't know if it's week to week. We'll see how it plays out. Where are you going to go with this one?
So I think the Chiefs will win the game, but I believe you when you say the Chiefs are not calibrated to lose in one-score games. I think they'll win this one, but it'll be one score.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs by 3, so I'll take the Giants to cover.
Yeah.
Harry's taking the Chiefs to cover. By the way, do you have that Giant stat handy that you sent me? The 60-yard.
So there's two different ones. There is one that the 21% of all 60-yard field goals in the NFL since 2014 have been against the Giants, and all of them have been as time expired in the fourth quarter.
That's crazy.
The other stat was something like there have been, was it seven walk-off 60 or more yard field goals either in the fourth quarter or overtime in NFL history, and 4 of them have been against the Giants.
That was like 20% of them being against. That was like my stat last year. 20% of the 60-yard runs were all just Saquon Barkley.
Right.
That's wild.
It is pretty.
I'm going to go.
It's pretty crazy.
Chiefs. Harrison Butker 61-yard field goal.
Does he have 60 in him now with his weird knee collapsing style thing?
Yeah, I think.
Does that change his range?
I think he's always got the range. His struggle is extra points. He's like who's the golfer with a good long game but not a good short game? Good drive but no bad short game. Is that Dustin Johnson a few years ago? Short game. That's Butker. I think he'll crush from 60 plus.
Okay.
All right. Got no more use for that game until Monday morning when we review it. Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. This game has the same line. Ravens favored by 5.5. Now they're at home. It's a Monday night game. Another primetime game, over under 52 and a half here. Last time they played 2 years ago, both teams looked like two of the best teams in the league.
Yep.
Baltimore was the best team in the league in the regular season. Baltimore crushed them. Also in Baltimore. So now you've got, we've seen 2 Detroit teams. We've seen a team that got smoked by Green Bay, who looks great. It was in Green Bay. And then the Lions absolutely crushed the Bears. Looked like vintage, as in the last 2 years. Lions team put up 50-plus once again. So which Lions team do we get here? Does the home road split matter? Is going up against a good team matter? Like, what's the variable here that's going to determine which Lions team shows up here against Baltimore?
Like how much of last week was just the Bears?
Yeah.
You know, like
and how much of week 1 was the Packers? Because the Packers might be
Yeah.
the best team in the NFL, or the best defense in the NFL at least.
I mean, I think Detroit is the team we know less about of the two. I think we're fairly confident that the Ravens are what they were supposed to be and usually are, which is a really, really good football team. And, you know, maybe they'll lose a game or two here or there, but, like, they're going to be one of the best regular season teams again, I would imagine. The Lions, I think we know a little bit less about because, look, they did get beaten fairly handily by Green Bay, and then they annihilated the Bears, who might be terrible. Like, we don't really know what the Bears are yet. So this is it's a straight disrespectful line for Detroit. Vegas is saying, you're not in Baltimore's class. You're not able to hang with those people. I don't know. I don't know if they're not.
I see the chat dropping the stat over the last X number of games. Lamar Jackson has, 44 passing touchdowns and 3 picks? I mean, incredible run of efficiency here. And last week against the Browns, it wasn't anything dominant. They had some short fields. Lamar did have 4 touchdowns, but they weren't dominating through the air. They were not, like, Derrick Henry was held in check. From a run game perspective, Lamar didn't run often because, it's the game that they should win, and you probably don't have to lean into that a ton against Cleveland. But the Browns defense did do a nice job against Baltimore overall last week. And then in week 1, Baltimore against Buffalo, man, they just completely dominated until they stopped dominating in the last 3 drives.
Yeah, which was enough to lose the game.
What do you do with that? This does feel like one of the games where I think Baltimore's going to have their way offensively again. I think it's going to be tough to stop Henry and Lamar in the pass game. I think it's going to be really tough for Detroit, and it's one of those, Goff can get streaky. Like week 1, they were playing from behind, so he's taking chances, he's just chucking it, and then it's just funny because one week he's throws the ball into coverage like 4 or 5 times, and then the next week he has 5 incompletions and 5 touchdowns. And so Goff has these incredible high-end games, and it does feel like this totality of the offense, when they get into a groove, Amon-Ra St. Brown's wide open, and Jameson Williams is wide open, and Sam Laporte is wide open, and their backs are going. When they get into a groove and Goff is running the show, it's great. They obviously, I think they need one of those games against Baltimore's defense to just, I would say, to hang with Baltimore's offense.
I wonder what Detroit are going to do in terms of how much coverage they're going to play zone versus man. Like last couple of years, they've been an extremely man coverage heavy team. And then with the change in coordinator this year, they've shifted to more zone coverage. Through the first couple of weeks, they've had quite a lot of goofs on that. Like the communication isn't there yet. They're not as used to, as comfortable playing that. So Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, it's a very interesting offense to sort of pose questions to that. Because on the one hand, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, those guys in the backfield, you want to have as many eyes on them as possible in terms of, bodies dedicated to potentially shutting down the run, but also keeping an eye on scrambles, et cetera, right? On the other hand, those guys are also going to stress communication problems hugely as well, particularly Lamar Jackson, just the way he plays, moving around, the scramble drill plays that are going to be there. The easiest thing to do when you're dealing with a scrambling quarterback is simple man coverage rules, right? Like you don't have to worry about, as soon as things break down, just plaster your guy and stick to him. So are they going to call more man coverage than usual, but that exposes them to Lamar Jackson running? Are they going to have some sort of special rules specifically for Lamar? We'll play zone coverage, but if and when it breaks down, plaster, just stick to your man, abandon the shell, right? It's going to be interesting to see exactly how they call that defense.
Yeah, facing the Ravens just puts so much more pressure, I'd say. I mean, on every part of the defense, but the defensive front, you got to stop the run with fewer bodies. And as soon as you don't, like the Bills did, you start bringing extra bodies down, and it opens up the pass game. The number of times when Zay Flowers is running wide open through the secondary, when everybody has eyes on Lamar and Derrick Henry, what looks like quote-unquote easy throws, I always say that's like Lamar earning that, right? It's his rushing ability, earning the ability to have open throws in the secondary. So I think that's going to be key. Aiden Hutchinson lining up on both sides a lot early on here, almost 50-50 split from NFL Pro numbers. So we'll see him against Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten. I still wonder about the complementary pass rushers for the Lions. And by the way, pass rush in this case, it's not about just getting pressure. It's about finishing those plays. You also want to avoid some of those Lamar freak plays where he's 12 yards behind the line and stiff arming people and creating big plays. So you got to get home and you got to finish as well in this one. Create some negative plays if you're Detroit. So I really think a lot of this is going to be Goff in that rhythm. Did they just come out with a slow start? Did they run into an early season juggernaut in the Packers and their defense? Because we've talked about the Ravens a lot before. Like on paper, the Ravens should have one of the best defenses, and they got smoked by Buffalo for a lot of big plays, and obviously the big comeback on the Sunday night game in Week 1. So I think Detroit's offense should be somewhere in between, scoring 6 points until garbage time in Week 1, and then 55 last week. But I think they're going to have to play a really efficient game here against Baltimore. So I think it comes down to Goff and his ability to take care of the ball and just spread it out, keep that run game going. The 1-2 punch of Montgomery and Gibbs was very good last week again.
Yeah, like if they can have if they can get their offense going, I think they definitely have a chance. Because remember, the other element of, sure, Green Bay looks great, they look very good, but they were good on both sides of the ball. Again, their defense showed up and absolutely throttled this Lions offense, and we were questioning everything about it coming out of that first game. Like the offensive line was getting destroyed up front. They weren't able to get anything going on the ground. Their running backs, the 1-2 punch, got nothing going. And the sort of the details, just everybody looked lost within the offense. And then they played Chicago, and it was much easier. I mean, Baltimore's a lot closer to Green Bay than they are Chicago, you would think. So, I mean, that's a big spectrum of outcomes from looking like last year to we could barely move the ball.
As far as what it means, I mean, if we spent a couple minutes on what it means for Kansas City to potentially lose and go 0-3. If the Lions lose, they have the Browns, Bengals, and then the Chiefs the next few weeks. So, they should be favored against the Browns and the Bengals, and then they go to Kansas City for a tough one. But the Lions, if they lose this game, they're staring a 3-3, 2-4 start. in the face in a division that is looking deep once again with the Packers sitting at the top. Then they have the Chiefs and Bucks week 6 and 7, and then the Vikings. So it's a tough schedule for Detroit. And then Baltimore has that Chiefs game next week. And you keep going back to that week 1 heartbreaking loss. I mean, the Ravens fans should be sitting here saying, hey, we should be 2-0 going up against Lions and Chiefs back to back. And hey, if you drop one, that's fine. We're 3-1. But you're dealing with, a 2-2, 1-3 potential start. So it's a big pivotal game here early in the season because so many of these expected top teams are all playing each other. And so some of these teams that we expected to be powerhouses this year are going to be sitting there with 500 or losing records 5-6 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I mean, even if Baltimore finds a way of losing this game, I don't think it necessarily means a whole lot for them other than it was, a missed opportunity and 2 in the first 3 weeks. I still think they'll be, over the course of 17 games, they'll be one of the best teams in the NFL and in a good place record-wise. I think it kind of means more for Detroit because, if they get beaten, particularly if they get beaten relatively handily by Baltimore, then I think they're very much in danger of being like last year's Packers, where like you beat the good teams, you lose to the good teams, you beat the bad teams, and maybe they're a more extreme version. Like maybe they'll stomp every bad team they play and then lose to the good teams. But for the last couple of years, I think the Lions they've been legitimately one of the best teams in the NFC, like a true sort of contending level team. With the changes this offseason, I think they're in danger of having taken a step back. Not a big one, but maybe enough that you're no longer a true elite contending team. You're a team like last year's Packers, which, you're shooting for a wild card. You could make the playoffs. Maybe you could win a game or two if you get there, but you're probably not beating, 3 of those teams sequentially.
Last thing to watch that I'll probably mention every single week for Baltimore, I think the Ravens are going to have their way offensively. When we get into the fourth quarter and they're sitting there with a 10-point lead or a 2-touchdown lead, the questions are, all right, can they hold it now? Now, they hold it 80% of the time, but it should be 90% of the time, right? It should be more. So we'll be keeping an eye on that if Baltimore is leading into the fourth quarter. And we'll ask those same questions. Can they close it out? Can they have that one drive offensively?
The only thing that can stop the Ravens is the Ravens, apparently.
In the fourth quarter with big leads.
Yeah.
All right, Baltimore by 5.5, Monday Night Football. Where are you going with this one?
I will go with the Lions to cover, but the Ravens to win.
All right, I'll take Baltimore to cover the 5.5. I think this is the type of game that they make statements during the regular season. I think they're going to win by a score at least, or a touchdown at least. Harry's going to take Detroit. I hope we get a game of the year candidate, though. I hope we get one of the best games, which it should be on paper. Detroit should still be really good. Baltimore should be the best, if not, top 3 type of team in the NFL this year. So hopefully we get a game of the year candidate. All right, FanDuel's getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You could build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/CTM to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com/CTM. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Today we're talking Thursday Night Football, Sam. We have a little prop bet to discuss. Dolphins-Bills. Circling back to that game, we're going to look at the over-under for James Cook, 67.5 rushing yards. So this is tonight's game as of right now. What are your thoughts on James Cook? Over-under 67.5. He was well over 100 last week against the Jets.
Yeah, he was well over 100, and you've got a Miami defense that's not stopping anybody at any point. I mean, all the focus has been It's like, we talked about Josh Allen and his over-under for this week. It's like there's going to be so much production we expect. The question is just where is it going to go, and can it go over on everybody? Like the Patriots had quite a lot of rushing yardage, but it was spread out amongst a bunch of different guys. I don't know. I'm kind of taking the over against this Miami defense everywhere.
Yeah, I would too. I guess the only question is, do you see more Ray Davis? Do you see more Tyler Johnson? Like, do you see the ball spread around a little bit more? I don't think, as I said in our preview, I don't think they're going to lean on Josh Allen as much because I think they can win up front against Miami. So I like Cook over 67.5. Hopefully it's just, reel off a 40-yarder early and, he might get in the first half, to be honest.
I mean, again, I'm conscious that anytime you're this extreme about any individual game, that's the one that's going to be weird and go the other way, and somehow Miami's going to get out of this with like a 3-point win, and everyone's going to look ridiculous. But the biggest danger to all these over-unders to me for this game is Buffalo so far ahead that they're benching people in the fourth quarter? Like, I genuinely think that that's more likely than Miami winning this game.
Yeah.
So,
it's definitely
there's
possible.
your clip to play back on Monday when I look like an idiot.
There'll be plenty of those, I'm sure. We'll take the over on James Cook and his rushing yards. Again, FanDuel.com/CTM to go play. All right, Los Angeles Rams at the Philadelphia Eagles. They played twice last year. Eagles favored by 3.5. Your over-under 44.5 from FanDuel. Back in Philadelphia, they played in L.A. last year. Then they played in Philadelphia in the divisional round. Remember, the Rams lost by 6, the closest game that the Eagles had on their run to the Super Bowl.
Lost by 6 and had the ball late with a chance to get the score.
Like in a snowy divisional round game. It will not be snowy this week, I think. We'll check the weather.
Which you would have said, snowy divisional round. Normally that's to throw an asterisk on the game of some description. But you would have said those weather conditions helped Philadelphia as a general concept last year more than the Rams, So, the Rams had the best game of anybody against Philadelphia in the playoffs in conditions that you would say were optimal for Philadelphia, not the Rams.
And I think the story last year when they played was the Eagles' run game and the big plays from Saquon Barkley when they played early in the year on Sunday Night Football. That was when Saquon just kept rattling off these big runs.
Yeah.
And they were hanging tough, and then boom, the Eagles just dominate up front. And on paper, they have the size advantage over, Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk and this defensive front of the Rams. So that's how they won it the first time. And then in the second one, it was at the first play from scrimmage. It was almost immediately Saquon reels off a big run, and he finishes with 205 yards on 26 carries, including a 78-yarder, 2 touchdowns in there. So the 2 games, you actually didn't get much from Philadelphia's pass game, but they didn't need it. Jalen Hurts in the divisional round game sacked 7 times and only had 15 completions. I mean, so it is one of those games where I feel like the Eagles have the on-paper advantage, but the volatility of long runs also makes me think, hey, Rams, just avoid a couple bad run fits and getting blown off the line of scrimmage, and you have a chance to win this game. And I think the Rams, from a variance perspective, they have a little bit more juice on offense this year than they did last year with Devontae Adams there and Stafford looking good. And maybe just don't give up 60, 70 yarders to Saquon, and it's going to be a pretty close game.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of a few games last year where there were several Philadelphia performances that kind of all fit the same script, which is it's a close game for a lot of it, and then eventually the Eagles are able to just lean on teams in the run game, and Saquon busts off a couple of big runs, and that's kind of the difference. They end up going away. Now, what was different with the Rams is they found a way of coming back at the end as well in the playoffs. But generally, I mean, even the Eagles kind of did that to the Chiefs last week as well. The NGS had a couple of interesting nuggets on the Eagles offense, Jalen Hurts. He recorded against Kansas City his 7th career win with fewer than 130 passing yards, including the playoffs, which is the most wins like that of any quarterback since Hurts came into the league in 2020. He's now 2-0 this season despite throwing fewer than 160 passing yards and 0 touchdowns in both games, which is the first time a quarterback has started the season 2-0 without throwing a touchdown in the last 15 years.
So I think we're gonna get a lot of these first time ever type of records, right? Lamar Jackson already has the most rushing yards for a quarterback in history.
Right.
Josh Allen just passed Thurman Thomas,
Yeah.
Hall of Fame running back for rushing touchdowns, and we're 8 years into his career. Allen, right? 7 years into his career, whatever it is. And so you're gonna get a lot of these first time ever stats because it's a different era where it's not only is it easier to pass than ever before in the last decade or so in the NFL, but you've got more running quarterbacks than ever before. So
Well, not just running, but also the short yardage stuff.
and then the tush push in particular, right?
Yeah.
Because Hurts, how many touchdowns? He had double-digit touchdowns last year, right? Because of it.
Like Cam Newton was the first guy to sort of genuinely be used as a red zone, low red zone, short yardage, dynamic threat, rushing threat as a touchdown scorer, and he has 75 career rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen's already at 67,
yeah.
and he's not even like they're not using him the way the Eagles use Jalen Hurts,
Right.
Like he'll be
Because he's got a much better offense than Cam
Right.
had for the majority of his career outside of the one MVP season. So Allen has more opportunities, but they're not, as you said, relying on him exclusively in the red zone.
like Hurts is up
So
to
my-
58 rushing touchdowns already career.
But my point with that is it's just a completely different style, and it is a shorten the game type of style. And I think strategically, defensively, it's like, can you avoid 3rd and 4th and 1s? I mean, you
Yeah.
want to avoid all big plays against the Eagles, but right now through 2 weeks, they've got 2 explosive passes in there. Off the top of my head, the post to Jahan Dotson week 1, the jump ball to Devontae Smith in week 2. By the way, just because they haven't done it, it's a pretty good track record of Jalen Hurts getting the ball down the field to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Like it's still there. The Eagles still have that in the bag, I believe, but they haven't needed it these last couple weeks. They have shortened the game. Defense has done a really nice job, especially in the second half of games, and they've run the clock. They've run it out. And last week in particular, they did not get Saquon Barkley going early. I think he had a nice little touchdown run. Then he slowed down for a little bit. They just fed him in the second half, and that's been their style. So I'll repeat it again. The Eagles have a million different ways to win. The defense is legit. I still think they have an explosive pass game if they need it. But yeah, there's a lot of games where the game flow just dictates, hey, we've got this thing in control. We're going to be a run-heavy team. We're going to shorten it up and slow it down, and we're going to do 7 tush pushes, which I think Renner said was 20% of their plays last week. If you think that 20% of the Eagles' offense looked like rugby, you're correct. That's what it was last week.
That's pretty crazy.
It is.
Yeah, look, the Eagles are dominant on the ground right now between Saquon Barkley, between what they can do in short yardage. So that's the task for the Rams defense is, in a weird way, you have to force them. It's the exact opposite of what you do for most teams. You have to force them to the air. You have to force them into the high variance, highly volatile, but also extremely dangerous deep down the field shot because they're not as good at that.
From a Rams perspective, again, they're number 1 in the league in points per game allowed through 2 weeks. It's all through 2 weeks. It's all the caveats here. Mm-hmm. But as I said, at the end of last year, when they put their starters out there, they were giving up under 10 points in their last 4 games. This defense is on a run, and they did give up 28 to Philly in that playoff game. If you take out some of the Saquon runs, you can't take them out. They happened. Will the Rams give those up this week? That's my big question. I feel like they can.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a case of taking them out. It's just a case of, like, look at the only thing that the Chiefs successfully did in the Super Bowl was bottle up Saquon Barkley. And obviously they lost everywhere else in the Super Bowl, so it didn't matter. But the point is, if the Rams are able to do that, like if the Rams can actually stop those plays happening, well, that does potentially make the difference.
And that's what makes the Eagles dangerous, by the way. We could pull out all these stats, and look, I see the haters online for Jalen Hurts. I see the haters like, oh, he's dink and dunk, and he's got the lowest average depth of target in the NFL, and he's got this or that. Like he's playing to win. He's doing what Mike McDaniel said. You play to win, and if you win, you win. If you lose, you're going to lose.
Can't win without winning.
And they're winning because they win, and they're playing to win. Got it?
Not really.
So they're playing the game flow here. Like the Eagles haven't had a bad offense the last couple of weeks. That they hit a bad stretch against Kansas City, I would say, but they were cooking against Dallas. And then they got slowed down. They tried to slow down the game, and the run game got stymied.
Yeah, the point is that nobody else has yet forced them to find out if they can pass still. right? Like at the
and
moment,
they have a history of being able to do it, including in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl where Saquon did almost nothing and they put up a million
right.
points.
In their past, this Philadelphia offense has absolutely been able to pass the football and been good doing it. They've also had times where they've been relatively rudimentary in the passing game, and Jalen Hurts has been criticized of, well, can he really do everything in the pass game? Is this offense a little bit Mickey Mouse from that regard if they can't run the ball and blah, blah, blah? None of that is relevant if you can't stop the ground game, right? It's only relevant if you can actually bottle up Saquon Barkley, stop them in a couple of short yardage situations, and force them into the passing game. If you can't make them do that, then it doesn't matter whether they can do it or not because they don't need to. At the moment, they don't need to. Jalen Hurts, the run game, it's completely crushing people, and they're able to win these games without having to figure out if Jalen Hurts in the passing game still has that connection. If the Rams can force them into that, it might be a much more interesting game.
Couple matchups, I think, for the Rams here. Stafford playing much better. I know we spoke so much about his back. I haven't seen any issues there. The concern still, if you get hit 4, 5, 6 times a game, who knows? But the dude's throwing it, zipping it, looking good connection with both Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Covering both of those guys, I think, is going to be difficult for the Eagles. That cornerback 2 spot for Philly, if you're picking out weaknesses opposite Quinyon Mitchell, I think that's something the Rams can exploit.
Dory Jackson's been attacked quite a bit.
Yeah, and so I think the Rams have that advantage. And look, overall, I think they did it sounds stupid, right? But they did a pretty good job defensively outside of the explosive runs that they allowed to Saquon Barkley last year. So they're going to crowd the box, try to take those away, force the Eagles to win through the air, which they're capable of.
Yeah.
But might be a lower percentage shot here.
But it's
Philly.
also, it's a new year. You don't know if that's working yet. I mean, they have shown in the past they're absolutely capable of that. We don't know if they're able to do it right now and just turn it on like a switch. And that's the thing the Rams have to find out is, is this offense, is this passing attack for Philadelphia simply dormant at the moment because they haven't really needed to tap into it? Or is it actually struggling for some reason and nobody else has yet really forced them to try and lean on it?
And then just the Rams, Jared Verse against Jordan Mailata.
Yeah. Remember the highlight reel.
The highlight reel.
Now, there's some mitigating circumstances there, but it's kind of like the Shamar Stewart versus Josh Connerly play at the Senior Bowl. It's like simply being able to take a dude that size and launch him into the air is in itself insane. The fact that he had a running start horizontally and timed the snap, etc. I mean, it's not irrelevant, but it's kind of beside the point. Like I could take a 15-yard run up at Jordan Mailata, and even if he didn't know it was coming, like if he was facing the opposite direction, I couldn't do that to him. Like the fact that he's able to literally launch a 360-something pound man backwards through the air is crazy.
It's incredible. He can do it. One other sneaky good addition for the Rams, Poona Ford added to their defensive front. I keep mentioning, Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk. Poona Ford as a undersized fire hydrant type of body who's very good in the run game. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he changes everything against Saquon, but that's the type of addition that makes the run defense better. And again, if that's one of the keys to stopping one of those explosives, I think it gives the Rams a chance. As we talk through it, I'm feeling Rams here. The line's at 3 at the moment. Eagles favored by 3 here. Where are you going to go with this one?
Yeah, the more we talked it out, I definitely started to like the Rams more too, but I'm going with the Eagles.
We need some data on when we talk ourselves into it. Like, is our analysis too one-sided?
The line has moved 2-3 points. It's only when it crosses 3 that it's a really big deal, right? Moving from 3.5 to 3 is not the big deal. It's moving from 3 to 2.5 would be the big watershed threshold for the betting people.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Rams to cover on the road here. I don't know, man. I love this. This is potential NFC Championship preview. This is a legit game here in Week 3. Harry's going to take the Eagles. It's Sunday at 1, by the way. We get an elite game here at 1 p.m. Sunday. Also at 1 p.m. Sunday, Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Texans 0-2, Jags 1-1. The Jags are favored by 2.5. You, without thinking about it yesterday, suggested maybe the Texans are going to be favored this week. It's been in Jacksonville's favor. Over under just 43.5 right here. It's a huge game for both, obviously, with division game, Houston falling to 0-2, heartbreaker on Monday Night Football against the Bucs, and the Jags with a heartbreaker of their own allowing a game-winning drive to Jake Browning and the Bengals when they were up 4. They're up 4, trying to protect the lead, unable to do it last Sunday. So something's got to give this week, Texans and the Jags.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting. Like, the man in Vegas apparently is kind of out on the Texans already. And look, that offensive line's a mess. It's absolutely a very real problem. But we said this when we were talking yesterday. Like, I think you can make a similar argument for Houston as you can for Kansas City, which is, yeah, look, they haven't started well. They're 0-2. However, they've lost to good teams, you know? And that's not true for everybody that's 0-2. I think the Texans are probably better than that. The offensive line was a train wreck last year. People lost their jobs at the end of the season because of it. They still won, was it 10 games and made the playoffs? Like, this is still fundamentally a pretty good football team, even with a stinky offensive line. And, you know, the other side of the ball, they can bring some serious teeth to the table without those pass rushers. The edge rushing duo, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, but also Sheldon Rankins has been a significant part of pushing the pocket. Like, those guys are going to put Trevor Lawrence in some uncomfortable situations.
Those both teams against the blitz in particular, but like the 4-man rush of having Will Anderson and having Danielle Hunter. Anderson had like 9 pressures the other night against the Bucs.
Yeah.
Now it was Bucs backups, but that's what good pass rushers do.
Yeah. But we already saw, I mean, Trey Hendrickson, you know, gave Walker Little all kinds of problems.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
I mean,
Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter are both of that kind of caliber.
Advantage should be Houston there from a pass rush perspective, even though I think the Jags overall have held up pretty well in pass pro other than trying to block Hendrickson these first couple weeks. So there's that. And then the Texans, look, I thought they had best defense in the league potential because of the ball hawks they have in the secondary. That Bullock giving up a little bit and Kamari Lassiter giving up a little bit. I think Derek Stingley's got a couple penalties, but overall he's been very good. So then you've got this Stingley versus Brian Thomas Jr. matchup. Brian Thomas Jr. has been targeted 19 times with 5 receptions. And it's been him, it's been Lawrence, it's been off. There's 2 drops in there. There's a pass where he was forced out of bounds. There's overthrows. There's plays where he didn't run over the middle and didn't, you know,
just it was such a weird game.
Everything's off right now between Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I went back and watched every Trevor Lawrence pass attempt again, just watching what was happening in that game. I mean, the Brian Thomas stuff was weird. Like, right from the outset, he was kind of disinterested in that game. I still think, I know other people think differently. I think that pass where he pulled out of it over the middle is a really bad pass leading him into an awful kill shot. And I understand 100% why he pulled out of it. I also understand people saying you can't do that as a wide receiver. You've got to stick your head into the jaws of the hit that's coming and just, that's the job, right? I get that. I also understand not throwing yourself into that hit and being like, dude, you can't do that to me. I don't think that needed to be a hit. Like, I mean, not a hit. I don't think that needed to be a dangerous pass that hung him out to dry. Like, I think that ball could have been thrown well away from that much earlier, and it wouldn't have been a bad hit at all. Instead, it's high. And there were multiple other pass attempts where it's like, and at least on one occasion, I understand why it was this late, but they were really late. They were like over routes, and they were so late that the backside corner is basically delivering a hit at the point where the pass arrives. And on both occasions, the pass is up here as well. It's not even like it's down here, I can catch it, I'm already sort of going to ground to absorb the hit. It's like I'm up here exposing the rib cage, and the backside corner is now close enough because it's so late to be able to come in and target that rib cage.
See, just not reading, because the backside corner on the over route, that was the pick that Lawrence threw in week 1. That was, you know, J.C. Horns covering his guy on the other side of the field, and he just peels off and robs it basically from the Travis Hunter over route.
One of them, there was a route going in the opposite direction on the play, and I think he wanted to verify that the man tracking that was going to keep tracking that, so he had to basically wait for him to keep going so that he could then, because if he threw it too early, that guy could have peeled off his man, and essentially it would have been waiting for him, and he would have looked stupid. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he's waiting for that to get out of the way, verified it was definitely man. He was tracking that. Then he threw the ball. But by the time it got there, the backside corner is now able to basically be right there and deliver a hit. Point is, it's the point you made. They're just not on the same page in a very different way than Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. are on the same page, but the same problem. Like, your quarterback and his best wide receiver are just not hooking up right now the way they need to on the field.
And the funny thing is, there's so much other good stuff in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Right now.
Particularly the run game.
The run game's been fantastic. They're creating big plays with Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin. Both guys had receiving touchdowns, little gimmies for Trevor Lawrence. Like, it's almost like for the first time in Lawrence's career, I feel like there are some schemed up plays. Not for the first time. There was little spurts where I thought Doug Peterson and his offense were giving some easy buttons to Trevor, and it was like, man, this is well schemed up, like second man through, wheel routes, wide open. It was not common though throughout Lawrence's career. We might be back to that. Liam Cohen and that whole offense, they do a great job with red zone screens. Think about the number of times that McVay and Baker last year with Liam Cohen. There was that 1 week, or like back-to-back weeks, they had the same exact third and long red zone screen for a touchdown. We're already seeing that in the Jags offense. So I feel like there's a few more easy buttons. You got a great game from Parker Washington last week for Jacksonville. De'Ami Brown's been getting open, even if he didn't catch the touchdown. So there's a lot of good stuff in Jacksonville. The defense, creating a lot of pressure up front. Josh Hines-Allen, they're freeing up Trayvon Walker. They're forcing a ton of turnovers these first 2 weeks.
Yep.
It's like the biggest question in Jacksonville is the high-priced quarterback and the guy who looked like the next star receiver in the NFL. Those are the biggest questions. So I think there's a you could say that there's reasons for optimism there, because I think Lawrence is better than he's played and will play better. And Brian Thomas Jr. has played much better than he has. And so I would almost view this from an optimistic standpoint. Yeah, the Jags should probably be sitting here at 2-0 saying, man, if we just get our two stars on the same page, we could really take off here. They're still 1-1, but you can still say that same thing. I think there's far more potential in Jacksonville.
No, there absolutely is.
Than what they've done.
It's also going to be fascinating because so far through 2 weeks, the Texans have been using Derek Stingley to track a number one receiver. Like, does he go one-on-one with Brian Thomas Jr. the whole game? Does that open up a ton of targets for a guy like Travis Hunter on the other side or in the slot? That's going to be pretty interesting to watch. NFL Pro has really interesting stat that they had for the Texans safeties.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't attack their safeties.
I'm not attacking their safeties.
I'm just saying.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson, whose really defining trait in the NFL is trash talking, and we saw him try and get into it with Baker Mayfield during the game.
Number one trash talker, is that the next gen stat here?
No, I wish it was. I genuinely, he leads the NFL in drawing, personal fouls just for pissing people off. But what they had is, so last season, Eric Murray, his average depth of alignment was more than a yard greater than any other player in terms of the difference in man versus zone coverage, right? So essentially, he was lining up way deeper in zone coverage than man and more than a yard different than any other player in the NFL. And through 2 games this year, the difference between that and C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been dramatic. But, do you remember years ago, there were certain safeties that would have amazing seasons or were incredible ball hawks, but they were lining up like a mile off the line.
Greg Williams safety.
Or Jarius Byrd. Like that guy was lining up 35 yards off the line of scrimmage, so when they were playing single high, like he had the range to the sideline. The second he left Buffalo and the team didn't let him do that anymore, he was done. It's fascinating that that's something that they've sort of tracked and identified, and if you're a defense or a coach and you kind of recognize that, you're like, we're giving them too much information in an era when quarterbacks are reading the safeties so much. Like when those guys effectively are maybe the single greatest signal to the quarterback of what the hell the play is on defense, they want to get rid of the guy that's showing too much. Like your alignment is giving the quarterback too much information. We want to go in a different direction.
Interesting. I thought you were going to call out Kalen Bullock giving up a touchdown the other week and giving us some catches. People didn't like when you criticized Bullock.
Bullock.
Whoever.
I can't remember what was at the broadcast. It was
Whatever.
called Bullock.
It's Bullock.
Yeah.
One more thing on the Texans. So Texans offense, we could spend a lot on this game. It's a fascinating matchup. Texans offensive line still a massive issue, and it's not just man-for-man blocking. It is sorting out protections.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's sorting the whole thing out. The Jags have been doing some crowding of the line of scrimmage. They freed up Trayvon Walker for 3 unblocked pressures on stunts last week against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not great at blocking up stunts. Houston has not been great at blocking up any sort of twist, stunt, or overload pressure. So I'm expecting the Jags to attack that. You also have Josh Hines-Allen on the rookie, Arante Ursary on the left side. I think it's going to be tough again for Houston to block up a pretty tough Jacksonville front that's also done a nice job, I think, mixing up their looks in the front seven. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think the Texans will have some success rushing the passer on the other side. They got to play better on the back end. They've been good for the most part, I think, in the secondary, and they have a ton of potential there. So I don't know. We might see a low-scoring game here, man.
Yeah.
I think both defenses are going to have some success. The over-under being 43.5 from FanDuel. And then, we always talk about the quarterback, but we know everything around them is an issue. I think Stroud needs more help from his receivers. I think Jaden Higgins can be a bigger part of this offense, getting him involved to complement Nico Collins. I think there's some success that Houston can have against the Jags secondary, and we got to see what Stroud does, whether it's blocked up or not. He still, made some bad decisions in there, some bad choices, and he's got to, get it blocked up. He's got to do his job at the line of scrimmage, making sure that they have pass protection sorted. The number of times that he's taken hits and the nerds who say, hey, QBs are sacks are a QB stat. Like there's kernels of truth in that when it comes to just sorting out pass protection. And you've highlighted some of those mishaps for over the first couple of weeks here for Stroud. So third challenging matchup for this Houston offense because this Jags defense is pretty fierce with their pass rush right now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you've got, the Jags have already given Trevor Lawrence the big deal. C.J. Stroud is, going to get one. You've got these two quarterbacks that are theoretically the franchise, the guy that's going to elevate them, and both of them are struggling for slightly different reasons so far this season, relative struggles. You've got Lawrence, and he can't get on the same page with Brian Thomas Jr., and it's not quite where it wants to be. And then you've got Stroud, and that pass protection, like the offense, they're giving up 39% of pressure rate. The offensive line is bad. The pass protection generally is bad. In addition to the offensive line being bad, like the calls, the protections themselves that are being called are not right a lot of the time. So it's like which quarterback is able to pull it together more in this game?
It's going to be a good one. Sunday, 1 o'clock. Jags favored by 2.5 right now. Where are you going with this one?
I'm going to stick with my initial instinct. I think the Texans probably should be favored for this game, and so I'm going with them.
Yeah, my initial instinct, Texans, I thought were going to be one of the better teams. Probably overrated their offensive line so far, but I think they have enough elsewhere on the roster to overcome it. Need better receiver play. I'll take the Texans to cover this, and as will Harry, my 10-year-old. Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots. Sunday at 1, Steelers favored by 2.5 here on the road. Battle of a couple 1-1 teams. An old school 90s into 2000s rivalry here. Steelers, Patriots. Aaron Rodgers versus Drake May.
Aaron Rodgers actually does still belong in that era. It's like he's the only part that's still, this could be an early 2000s matchup. Roethlisberger versus Aaron Rodgers. Only Rodgers is now the Steelers quarterback.
I think it's a fun matchup here. Steelers had that Week 1 win against the Jets, more of a shootout. Week 2, special teams mishaps. Offense didn't really get much going, lose to the Seahawks. And then New England coming off of first win of the Mike Vrabel era where they pulled it off against Miami after trying to blow it with some their own special teams mishaps in there. And then there was a point in my broadcasting career here, Sam, my podcasting career, where I said Mike Vrabel's the next Mike Tomlin. He's the next. You just can't have a losing record with Mike Vrabel until the Titans did twice. But I thought Vrabel was going to be that next guy, that next coach who was just the epitome of consistency year in, year out. Still could get there, but it's kind of a fun coaching matchup here as well. Yeah,
no, that's true. All the focus in Miami is on the kind of vibes and almost the off-field stuff. I kind of that question we played yesterday to Aaron Rodgers makes me wonder how close things are in Pittsburgh to like becoming bad vibes. They're just waiting. Like the press corps in Pittsburgh is just waiting to pounce on any negative thing that happens. And a one defeat, they're already like asking Aaron Rodgers, is it already time? Blah, blah. He's like, what are you talking about? It's one bad game. Let's just settle down.
How frustrating is this to have a bad game in week 2?
He's like, is it already time to, is this already getting whatever, like difficult or a pain. Or he's like, no, it's one bad game, we lost. Back on the horse next week. But that's the mindset those guys are taking. It's like they are just waiting for this thing to collapse around everybody so that they can write the stories and, write off Rodgers and eulogize them and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine for one bad game. Rodgers can perfectly reasonably say, no, it's one performance. Two performances becomes harder, particularly if it's against the Patriots who, are not that good. So, I think they're under a bit of pressure because of that. Like they're not being judged the same way everybody else is. If this looks bad, they're going to get questions about it. If it looks bad 2 weeks in a row, they're under a lot of pressure.
So matchup-wise, the Steelers' offense, pretty good week one. So they haven't run the ball effectively in either game. Week one, both weeks they really took advantage of some short fields and found the end zone on short fields, especially last week against Seattle. Hasn't been a very efficient offense, though, for Pittsburgh. When they did get into the red zone week one, Aaron Rodgers had the 4 touchdown passes. We talked about that. I thought they schemed it up really well. Week two, they didn't have the easy stuff as much. Rodgers faced some pressure. When he's facing pressure, he's not doing much with it. Like broke free from the pocket a couple times, made a nice little pass to Jalen Warren, but he got sacked 4 times. And New England's pass rush has been fierce, man. Their defense overall has not been great, but Milton Williams, 2 sacks last week. One was a little cleanup, but finished the game with a 4th and 12 sack. He's been very disruptive up front. And Harold Landry, who we said, look, Harold Landry does not have a great history of one-on-one pass rushing. He has high sack totals. He's a cleanup guy. He's been very good through 2 weeks. So New England's had a very good pass rush. I think they could get some pressure on Rodgers, but New England has to play better on the back end, and Rodgers is going to have to hit some of those tight window throws under pressure. Can't take those negative plays that he did against Seattle.
Yeah, he's also always gotten quite a lot of pressure, so maybe we undervalued the impact that Harold Landry could make. The big thing, so Pittsburgh's offense is interesting. Jalen Warren is fine, but I think they definitely need a complementary back, and at the moment they don't have one. They drafted Caleb Johnson. I don't know if he's now permanently in the doghouse because he made a ridiculous where he just ran away from the ball at the end zone and they scored a touchdown on it. Like, has that rendered him now no longer part of the offense? Is he already struggling to get various other parts? But he hasn't been a factor yet so far this season, and they kind of need him. That was a pick I think that a lot of people liked. It made a ton of sense. Najee Harris is left. There is a space there for that complementary back, and at the moment they're not using him at all in that role. I think they kind of need to. Rodgers has been good when the offense is ahead of the sticks, when he's able to use, play action pass, when he's able to operate Arthur Smith's system the way he wants it run. He's been good in that scenario. When you knock them in any way, shape, or form out of that rhythm, either behind the chains or they're not able to use play action, or Broderick Jones is there, any of those things creates problems. And Rodgers has reached that point in his career now, I think, where he's just not able to problem solve the way he used to. Same as, late stage Phillip Rivers, late stage Matt Ryan. They're still smart. They're still good quarterbacks, but they can't problem solve the way they could when they were 25.
It's a really good point there. So I think one of the keys here, I think, again, New England's pass rush has been pretty good up front, but they're still giving up a lot of yards on the back ends. Geno Smith hit some big ones in week one. Tua hit a few, missed a couple as well, missed a few throws. But Christian Gonzalez is back practicing this week for New England as well, their top corner. So he's been dealing with a hamstring. We know how those are. Even if he plays, is that one of those, the other thing flares up 20 snaps in or whatever, but that is a massive key. I don't know if the Patriots are going to play, matchup basketball, but Gonzalez against DK Metcalf, every week whoever matches up against DK is a fun matchup because, who's going to match his size and physicality and speed? Gonzalez can do it. So that's going to be a good matchup to watch there and see if the Steelers can get any kind of rhythm offensively. They had a little bit week one, not so much in week two. And then the other side, I think Drake May's coming off his best game. And then Pittsburgh's defense, man, there's just a disconnect between their pass rush and what's happening on the back end. Way too many freebies. Seattle, guys running wide open through the secondary. The Jets had guys running wide open through the secondary with an on-paper secondary with a bunch of good names, right? A lot of big names there in Pittsburgh. The pass rush has been pretty good. TJ Watt hasn't done much. Alex Highsmith has been their best pass rusher. He's banged up. And so Pittsburgh's defense, man, they have been very disappointing here through 2 weeks.
They have. I mean, we talked about that defense as being, could be a best defense in the NFL type of group, and it hasn't been at all. Jalen Ramsey's looked fantastic. That's been a great addition for them. Individuals have played well as a pass rushing unit, but the group itself has not been good or not been good enough. It's been definitely a lot worse than we thought it would be.
And just for fun, for nostalgia purposes, sometimes you see these matchups, like when you see Cowboys, 49ers, you think back through the years to what you saw. And, Steelers, Patriots, the Roethlisberger versus Brady number of times that they faced each other in the AFC Championship or in just in general playoff games, whatever it may have been. Big history here. And then I think it was the last time they played, it was Bailey Zappi was the hero for the Patriots. So you've got this great history, but, in recent years, it all looks different. It's like Bailey Zappi's facing Kenny Pickett. Now it's Aaron Rodgers and Drake May as the rivalry is renewed here. Pittsburgh favored by 2.5 Sunday at 1. I'll be keyed in on this one. I think it'll be a good game. Where are you going to go with it?
Young versus old. I'm going to go with the old man. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers, bouncing back after a rough game.
Harry's going to agree with you in Pittsburgh. I'll take New England. As we talked it through, I think if Gonzalez and Carlton Davis can both get back out there for New England, I don't know if Pittsburgh's offense. I don't know if I'd really love the Pittsburgh offense right now after what I saw after 1 week. I'll take New England to cover. Let's go Cincinnati Bengals at Minnesota, the Minnesota Vikings. It's Jake Browning. It's Carson Wentz. Vikings favored by 3 here, over under just 42.5 from our friends over at FanDuel. Of course, the story here being J.J. McCarthy getting hurt last week for Minnesota, Joe Burrow getting hurt for the Bengals. And so it's the first backup quarterback matchup of the season.
Beautiful. Just what everybody wanted, Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz.
I made the statement yesterday, Carson Wentz might be better than J.J. McCarthy right now. Remember, interpret this properly. This wasn't I would want Carson Wentz starting over J.J. McCarthy for Minnesota, but, rolling them out there for this week, Wentz might be the better option until J.J. develops. And so is this actually true? I said it yesterday, and it became, we threw it out on social media, so everybody knows now what I think. But Carson Wentz, he's been a backup these last couple of years, but you're asking, can you go out there, run the offense, get the ball to your playmakers? I think Wentz can have some success and be the next veteran success story for Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Carson Wentz thing is going to be very interesting to watch. The first and most important element, though, I think, is whether Christian Darrisaw is back for this game or not. It looks like he's trending to be back, but that's still an open question at this point. The Vikings need Darrisaw back, whoever the quarterback is. Without Darrisaw, who's a top 5 offensive tackle, maybe even better than that, they go from having an elite left tackle to having an absolute turnstile left tackle.
That Justin School got hurt, and so it'd be Walter Rouse.
Yeah, and it's like...
and Trey Hendricks, that would be one of those, unless the Vikings gave legitimate help every single play. Hendrickson's the type of guy who turns the corner and finishes. Like, you could be talking about a 4-sack game here from Trey Hendricks.
Point is, Darrisaw is the only guy they have in the roster that can block him. And even then, he's going to have his hands full, particularly coming back off an injury. Whichever of the backup left tackles is out there cannot block Trey Hendrickson, not even close. So they need Christian Darrisaw back in the lineup. If they get Christian Darrisaw back in the lineup, now I think the Carson Wentz thing becomes pretty interesting because you do have this prototypical size, arm strength, guy that wants to go big game hunting in terms of deep shots deep down the field. Remember how much that Sam Darnold did last year, 99-yard bombs to Justin Jefferson that haven't been there really for most of this year so far.
99 yards?
99, 97?
It was a 97,
It was whatever.
Not air yards, but total, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Just saying.
There was a very long touchdown from the back of his end zone, right? Anyway.
He's got a good arm.
He is the type of quarterback that I think could be pretty interesting with Kevin O'Connell pulling the strings. Now, look, it's also fair to say that he's on his 6th team in 6 years. There's a reason why these teams are not, jumping back into the Carson Wentz experience every single year. And even the Vikings didn't have him until they decided Sam Howell was a disaster and got rid of him. And then, Carson's not doing anything. Let's bring him in. So, there are reasons to think that there's no reason it should go well. But because Kevin O'Connell's track record, because of the arm, the size, blah, 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 and if they get Darrisaw back, I'm at least intrigued for a week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Carson Wentz was good for a period of time. And then even when he got run out of Philadelphia, I don't think he was awful necessarily. But, yeah, he had 2 chances.
And even then, it's a different mindset now, right? Like a lot of the criticism around Wentz at that time was like once they drafted Jalen Hurts, he sort of fell apart mentally because he couldn't handle the idea of like, oh, I'm supposed to be the guy, and now I'm being challenged. Like, what is that? Like he just went to pieces. Now, even with the most delusional self-confidence in the world, Carson Wentz must be aware that his current position in the NFL is you're a backup, and if you get a chance to start, that's a great bit of luck that bounces your way.
I know we make fun of backup quarterback matchups all the time. I do think we're in a golden age of backup quarterbacks, Sam.
I mean, look, if you're going to have a quarterback backup matchup, this is about as good as you could want.
It is. We have 2 guys who have had a lot of NFL success. It's not – you used to make fun. Matt Castle's in media now, and, we cross paths with him. There was a point in his career where you were like, listen, we know what you are, Matt. If you're a team, you probably shouldn't have Matt Castle as your back. I'm sorry, Matt. Matt's a nice guy. You shouldn't have Matt Castle as your backup. It's probably not going to go well, right? There was a point where the backup would come in and really didn't have a great chance of success.
Yeah.
The Carson Wentzes and the Jake Brownings and Marcus Mariota, who we'll talk about in a little while here, have Kirk Cousins as a backup. Like there's plenty of viable starting caliber players, low-end fringe starters that are backups right now. I think that's what we're going to see in this game. So I don't think it's this throwaway game. And nothing against Tommy DeVito, Cutlets. Nothing against Cutlets, but, he had a couple good games, but it's like,
He's got his own progressive.
Are you going to sustain it? Of course he does. He's an Italian-American hero. Can we get me in the Hall of Fame there? I mean, he's benched now. I think he's lost a little bit of the shine. I think it's time. Like, I'm still working, Yeah. Tommy's not. It's time to get me.
Tommy's on the Hall of Fame, right? It's his agent.
Yeah, but Tommy's destined,
He's on the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had that run.
Did he get in for just being a backup in the NFL for a bit?
He was a starter.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
He was a starter. He'll get in. It's my turn, though. It's my time. Anyway, I think it'll be a good game is what I'm trying to say. Carson Wentz and Jake Browning.
It might be.
And Wentz, when Wentz went to – so he left Philadelphia. He had 2 starting stints, one with the Colts, one with the Commanders. With the Colts, they had a pretty good offense that year. They had a pretty good offense. They blew it in Week 18, which they've done many times through the years with a playoff opportunity there, and they wanted to get rid of Wentz. Like there was a little bit left wanting there from Wentz, and I think the Commanders felt that as well, right? There was just a little left wanting there. But we're talking about in a 3-week stretch here, or a three-week setting. Can Wentz go out there, get the ball to Justin Jefferson and their playmakers and take care of it? Absolutely.
You made the point. The chances are he's better than J.J. McCarthy right now.
Better than what we've seen from J.J.
Yes.
Right? Because 7 out of 8 quarters, 87.5% of the quarters from J.J. McCarthy have been bad.
Right. So the chances are this is an upgrade for the offense. If Darrisaw is back in the lineup, it's an even bigger upgrade for the offense. The Vikings are actually extremely banged up, which is, obviously J.J. McCarthy being down, Darrisaw coming back. You've had Andrew Van Ginkel has been out as well. He could be back for the game. They've got Jeffrey Okudah was down as well. Like they're banged up everywhere. So this is a team that's missing a lot of their important players. Aaron Jones is on IR now, so Jordan Mason is the bell cow running back for them. Like they've got some significant players that are missing that's going to give the Bengals an opportunity.
So on the other side, every single week, like clockwork, you and I say, let's take a look at the quarterback against Brian Flores. Let's take a look at this Flores defense and how that blitz and trickeration and crowding the line of scrimmage, how is that going to affect the opposing quarterback? NFL Pro, some stats on Jake Browning from 2023. Browning had a league-high 57.7 drop-back success rate against the blitz in 2023.
Okay.
Now, there's way more sources now than there were a decade ago when it comes to blitz percentages and success rates and all these different things. There's probably 5 or 6 sources now that you might see. Everyone defines blitzes differently. I know from PFF to Next Gen to all the other sources, they're just going to define them differently. So you might get different numbers here. But using NFL Pro and their Next Gen stats, Vikings have been blitzing 37% of the time this year. That's only 6th highest. It's not at the top as they have. So they've been going 4-man rush a little bit more. But last week, all 3 interceptions from Browning, all poor decisions, came against the Jags' 4-man rush. So just something to keep an eye on here. He has handled the blitz well, and that coincides with this, what you've been saying, is he's going to see it a little bit quicker than Burrow, or at least get rid of the ball a little bit quicker than Burrow, and might actually be more equipped to do that. But Minnesota, with a much improved 4-man rush, the way they've added Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, they have the ability to just, hey, let's just rush 4, maybe have some success against this Bengals offensive line, and make Browning make good decision after good decision in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking, look, Browning could spark something in that offense because he's going to get the ball out of his hands quicker than Joe Burrow did, right? And obviously he's not as good a quarterback as Joe Burrow, but he might help the offensive line out, which is a huge part of their problems right now. The flip side of that is, though, I mean, he had 3 interceptions last week, and Brian Flores' defense forces indecision, bad calls, just mistakes. So, like, where does that net out for the Bengals? They may get the ball out of their hands a lot quicker, but is it going to the right place every time he does it? Can he make enough good decisions against this Flores defense for that to make a positive impact for the Bengals? Or is it just you've gone from a guy that understands what he's looking at more often than not to somebody that doesn't as well, and you're just going to turn the ball over too much to win the game?
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to this game. Backup quarterbacks, but I think there are some fun storylines. I might be overrating Wentz in my head here, who's just been a spot starter. He's been a backup with a couple spot starts these last couple of years. But I think he can at least improve this Minnesota offense in the short term, and then, see what happens when J.J. McCarthy comes back and has Darisaw and has more pieces there. We talk a lot about creep back toward average on the offensive line, and sometimes you get down to it and one person makes a massive impact. We've seen Trent Williams make a massive impact at times because of the drop-off to the backup. Christian Darisaw, the drop-off to second and third string for Minnesota has been rough. If he's back, I do think it changes a lot.
Yeah, the other thing, so I think they're getting several important players back. Darisaw, I think, is probably trending to play. Van Ginkel, I think, is probably back. I mean, he's an important player for them. Jeffrey Okudah, I think, is likely to be back. And as much as Jeffrey Okudah is not very good, I think having him there is better than not having him there. The other element is, so Darisaw's been down. Ryan Kelly left the last game with a concussion. This is now a relatively concerning history for him with concussions. The important point, though, is Carson Wentz, not only is he probably a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy right now, he's almost certainly more equipped to help with protection calls, et cetera, without Ryan Kelly in the lineup. So adding that to a rookie's plate would be not ideal. Carson Wentz should have a much better ability to come in and help with a backup center, effectively making sure the protections are in the right place. So, generally there's several ways that Wentz should be better equipped within this offense right now than the version of McCarthy we've seen.
Last thing, elite wide receiver matchup. LSU's Justin Jefferson, LSU's Jamar Chase. The fact that those two were on the same team
was better
is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, as we talk through it, my heart's actually saying Cincinnati, because I feel like Browning throwing to those guys is a bit more of a known commodity, and I don't know what I'm going to get from Wentz.
No.
And then there's a part of me that's like, I just think Minnesota's a better overall team. And if you lose the quarterback advantage that Cincinnati had and you just drop a couple backups in there, Minnesota should be a better team here. 3-point game, Minnesota favored. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think that Darisaw coming back is legitimately game-changing for this team, whether or not McCarthy was the quarterback. I think that takes away the only good player in the Bengals defense as well.
I'll take Minnesota as well. I'm feeling a 16-0 week for me in picks.
Of course.
Anyway, I'm confident this week.
Yeah, why wouldn't you be with your track record?
Yeah. It's like I should creep back to an average, at least. I need a 16-0 season just to
get back to an average, yeah.
Harry's going to take Minnesota here as well. We're pacing something. We're doing something this week. 4-hour pace here?
It's hard to know. When do we even start the show because of all the technical problems?
I think we're like an hour and a half in and halfway through. It's supposed to be a 2-hour show for previews. Fun discussion, though, early in the year. There's no write-off games. They all matter still. Even this one, Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans.
Even the backup quarterback game.
Yep, 2-0. Colts against the 0-2 Titans. It's Sunday at 1. Colts are favored by 4.5 here. Over-under is 43.5. Thoughts on this game? Can Indy keep it going? They set themselves up for a 3-0 start here.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on the road, but this feels like a line that I would have expected to be a bit bigger as well. I think the man in Vegas isn't giving the Colts respect yet. Even though they just
not yet.
Again.
The Titans are feisty, man. They're still going to be tough. They played the Rams tough for 2 to 3 quarters last week. I thought they played them tough, and I thought the Cam Ward factor. I think everything that we said at the beginning of the season is, hey, if he's special and he can overcome just a less than roster right now, they could sneak some wins in there. And again, first half, Cam kind of did that, and then things fell apart. I worry about Cam Ward's consistency right now, and consistency in the pocket movement, pocket manipulation. He does a lot of really good things. It's just putting together 4 quarters of football for Cam Ward. I thought you saw the same thing against Denver in week 1. There was a couple bad decisions in there, inviting pressure, and then there was other times the rest of the team let him down. So it's been a mixed bag, I think, for Cam Ward, but one of those more there's plenty of things to be optimistic around for him. So my point is, if he has a little bit more of the special, like he did last week, throw back across his body touchdown, they have a chance to pull this upset. Yeah,
in particular, if he can continue that connection he has with the other rookie, Maynard, the wide receiver that they drafted in the second round. Calvin Ridley, I think we know, and you coming in, like, he's a solid receiver, but if he's your number one guy, you've got some problems.
Yeah.
They need Maynard to be that guy. He had a really nice catch down the sideline, and then he was on the end of the ridiculous throwback across his body touchdown thing. Ward needs help. I think what we've seen already is he looks pretty good, but he's not going to be so special. Like, he's not going to be Jaden Daniels from last year, right? Where basically his presence by itself turns the team into something completely different. He needs some help, and Maynard could be that help.
A lot of injuries on both sides. Devondre Sweat's been banged up for the Titans. I don't know if he'll be back. L'Jarius Sneed's didn't practice as of Wednesday. J.C. Latham missed last week, starting tackle for the Titans. Laiatu Latu missed for the Colts. I think Bernard Ryman was sick. I mean, when I see illness on a Wednesday, I assume they'll be back in by Sunday these days. But who knows? I think a lot of those guys make a huge difference. Jeffrey Simmons, when he has Sweat next to him, I think it helps a ton, especially with the run game. Latham, he had his struggles, I think, in week 1, but, he's still the starter, missing him. And the Titans' offensive line's been a bit of a disappointment. If Latu is back for the Colts, that adds a lot of defensive line depth, and I think they have a chance to create some pressure on Cam Ward there. Big question for me, though, is going to be Indy's offense. As great as they've been through 2 weeks, how long are they going to keep this going? Will they be able to continue to move the ball as effectively as they have, both against the Dolphins? We said, hey, it's the Dolphins.
Asterisk.
But against the Broncos last week,
better.
Much more impressive.
Yeah.
That they did what they did.
I mean, I'm pretty confident that the Colts offense now is going to be good, and maybe you're going to get a Daniel Jones game somewhere along the line where it's just a stinker and that changes things. But overall, I think this offense is going to be good. I'm more interested, I think, in the other side of the ball, where Cam Ward and this Titans offense, they've been up against 2 elite-level defenses, right? Denver's defense in week 1, he gave up, they had a 50% pressure rate in that game. He was under pressure literally half of his snaps. And then the Rams in week 2, we know what they can do as a defensive line, as a defensive front. The Colts aren't that. They might have a pretty good defense, but they're not where the other 2 teams are, certainly not up front. So does easing off the pressure a little bit for Cam Ward let him be more of the special, Jaden Daniels, game-changing type of player? That's interesting, I think.
Yeah, and he hasn't had health across the backfield, hasn't had health on the offensive line. You mentioned the lack of depth maybe at receiver or high-end talent at receiver. So it was going to be a work in progress for Tennessee in their offense. Just want to continue to see development from Cam Ward. He's been sacked more than any quarterback in the NFL. And, some of those are absolutely on him. And other times, he's been under some quick pressure that is tough to avoid. So keep an eye on that. And then, Indy just looks like a good well-rounded team right now. I think they'll take care of business and continue to build the hype. Any given week, though, Daniel Jones maybe won't play that great, so who knows?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones favored by 4.5 here. Does that scare you at all?
No, because I think, look, it's what we said coming into the season. This is the best supporting cast that Daniel Jones has had. They don't need him to play. They just need him not to screw it up, right? I mean, game manager is that pejorative term, but that's really all he needs to be, is just get the ball to your receivers. Jonathan Taylor can take a workload out of the backfield. You've got, elite players now at tight end with Tyler Warren. Your offensive line is in pretty good shape. Just don't screw it up. Like, that's all he needs to do.
I think Tyler Warren has a chance to have a huge game here against the Titans linebackers. And the way they've found ways to get Tyler Warren the ball the first 2 weeks, I think that'll just continue to improve or continue to grow. So I think they do have a lot of weapons in Indy.
Yeah.
Good, well-rounded group of weapons, as we've said all season here. Colts favored by 4.5 here Sunday at 1. Where are you going to go with it?
I'm going with the Colts, right? Yeah.
I took Tennessee last week to keep it close against the Rams.
Same, I think.
I'm not going to do that.
Even late in the game, I thought they had a chance to, and then
they did, and I think there's turnovers, there's enough negative plays that I'm just not trust.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
I think the problem is when you're relying on that for a team that's probably not going to score much. Like, it's hard to keep. It's hard to keep a game. It's hard to keep a line low when the game is low scoring, because if somebody puts a touchdown somewhere, that's it, done.
I just hate the division game 4.5. I'll take Indy though. Harry will also take Indy. Las Vegas Raiders at the Washington Commanders. It's also Sunday at 1. Commanders favored by 3. Jaden Daniels is legitimately day-to-day.
Legitimately day-to-day.
And I believe it was Rap Sheet theorizing, it's probably going to be Mariota to give Jaden Daniels a week. So we could do a without Jaden Daniels pick here, but we're looking at a potential Marcus Mariota revenge game against the Raiders.
Yeah, I think I was assuming that Jaden Daniels is probably not playing in the game.
This is, by the way, a huge game for AP voter Sam. Brock Bowers versus Jaden Daniels. And it looks like Jaden's scared to compete.
Brock Bowers went out there last week and gutted it out through an injury.
Now, he was limited yesterday with his knee. But
he
Bowers
strapped it up.
Bowers, who did have
he put on the knee brace and went out there.
One first-place vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. You know that he's going to gut it out and play.
That's what he did last week. That's what I would assume he's going to do this week. We'll see if Jaden Daniels does the same thing.
Justified, Sam. Justified. What are you looking for in this one? A couple 1-1 teams here.
Yeah. I want to see if Geno Smith can bounce back. I mean, that was as bad as he's played in a long time, and I think you have to give a ton of credit to the Chargers defense for that. That defense looks stifling. It looks, extremely good, and able to cause problems for anybody, and it put Geno Smith into an absolute nightmare.
You wouldn't write Geno off, right?
No, I would never do that, and if I did, he wouldn't write me back.
He would not write back.
Point is, he can't have that game again. I mean, he needs to come back and show that was a one-time thing, and he needs to show that was the Chargers' defense more than that was him just being bad.
I mean, I'm on year 3 of saying, hey, when you have a guy like Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield or whoever that had less success early, and in Geno's case didn't play for almost a decade, and then comes into play, you're waiting for the wheels to fall off. And there had been games where Geno wasn't great, but that might have been his worst game.
That's what I'm saying.
As a starter, like his absolute worst game. So yeah, like that's not him. That's not him. He'll be better.
Yeah, well, he needs to this week.
I think he has a chance to against Washington.
We saw last week what happened. I mean, the Packers just went after Marshawn Lattimore. And they were doing it with Dontavian Wicks a lot. They were just rolling anybody out there and attacking him. The Raiders should just go, okay, let's see how healthy Lattimore is. We're going to run Dante Thornton right past him, play one, go deep, 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. I think the Raiders have a chance to play much better offensively, and I want to see if they get their run game going. You're still sitting here with Ashton Genty getting very little room to run, which is, by the way, it's a quirky stat, yards before carry, because I think speed backs create their own yards before carry.
It's not perfect as a stat.
Yeah, but that's also not Genty, right? So guys like David Montgomery probably don't ever have great yards before carry unless you are legitimately in an awesome run blocking system like Detroit, or you have run blocking like Detroit. So Genty's never going to create a ton of yards before carry on his own, but he needs a little bit more room here than what the Raiders are creating. And so I think they have a chance to be a little better against Washington this week. So that's where I like the Raiders' chances to have a much better looking offense this week against Washington. And then, look, Mariota had one start last year. If he is the guy playing, he looked great against an awful Carolina defense. But he looked good, and just like golden age of backup quarterbacks here, if Mariota had to be your long-term, if he had to start for an entire season, he'd be okay to hold his own, and I think he is going to be okay to hold his own in a one-game setting here as well.
Yeah, and stylistically, he's the type of quarterback where they don't need to change the offense with him coming in. They can still run the short yardage stuff with Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota doing the same things. Like, they don't have to junk entire aspects of the playbook with Mariota in the lineup. So that's, I think, always a positive thing for an offense if they have to turn to the backup.
Commanders right tackle Josh Connerly.
Yes.
Remember Aiden Hutchinson had the run of backups that he had to face? This is like the opposite for Connerly, where week one he had the Giants, where you have Burns and Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. Last week, Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary. This week, Max Crosby.
Yeah.
It's a tough run.
It is.
For a rookie.
Very tough run.
Moving from the left to the right side for the first time in his career. So just something else to keep an eye on. Max Crosby still looks legit, man.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he was dominant. I mean, it
didn't
do any good. It didn't do any good against the Chargers because they were just better everywhere else. But Max Crosby had multiple plays where he was just like in the backfield, destroying, detonating the play like immediately. And I mean, he forced the fumble late in the game effectively that ruined, or looked like it was going to ruin the game for the Chargers. The only reason that fumble happened is because like you're busy concentrating on the exchange, only your eye is caught by the fact that Max Crosby is here at the time. That's not a good thing.
Neither team has scored a ton through these first couple weeks. I think both offenses, the Commanders' offense, they had a lot of trouble getting anything going against Green Bay. Scored a touchdown late, and that was with Jaden Daniels. I feel like Green Bay is just such a defensive juggernaut right now through 2 weeks. How much is them? How much of the team? They held the Lions to 6 points outside of garbage time, and the Lions then went and dropped 55. So how much do you criticize a team going up against the Packers the way they're playing right now?
Yeah.
So the Commanders had some trouble, and then the Raiders, they found a way to win against New England, scored 20 in week one, and then they struggled on Monday Night Football with any sort of sustained offense or explosive offense. But that's the Chargers game too. Like, the Chargers are playing some really good defense right now as well. So both teams, my point is, the Raiders and Commanders may have faced the two best defenses in the NFL in the Chargers and the Packers.
Remember that game cost Washington Austin Eckler for the season?
Yeah.
So you're going to see an absolute ton, I would think, of Bill Krosky-Merritt. What he can do with, I mean, they'll obviously rotate as well, but I would imagine he's going to be pretty close to a bell cow running back at this point. They're going to have to lean on the rookie and I think see what he can do, and he's been dynamic so far when given opportunities.
Next gen stats from Geno Smith this year. 9 of 26 on 10-plus yard throws for 219 yards.
He was like 0 for against the Chargers.
And 0 for 12 last week. So he had 9 completions against New England. 0 for 12 against the Chargers with 3 picks. So something's got to give there, somewhere in between those two performances for Geno Smith. Commanders favored by 3 against Vegas. I'm assuming no Jaden Daniels.
Same.
I think if Daniels plays, I might take Washington, but I'm going to lean Raiders here. Where are you going to go with this one?
I'm going Washington either way. I think it's comfortable if Daniels is back in the lineup. Even if he's not, I think they win and cover.
I'll take the Raiders. Again, I took them against the Chargers. What was I thinking in hindsight? I'll take the Raiders, though, to keep it close. Harry will take Washington as well. What's next? Oh, shoot. I'm supposed to read something. Unprepared. It's a long show here. Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage, But when Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, a jump start, or if you lock your keys in your car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. And the Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. We are officially halfway through, I believe. We got to go a little quicker through the last few. Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Falcons favored by 5.5. 1-1 Falcons in the 0-2 Panthers with a division matchup here. Over under just 43.5 in Carolina.
I've been so impressed by Atlanta's defense. I mean, obviously, the Vikings' offense looks like it might be bad, but they were breaking out all kinds of stuff. They've been exotic with what they're throwing at teams. They've had a pass rush. The pass rush is coming from everywhere. They look like a really, really good defense. The back end is impressive as well. So the only potential weakness is now at the cornerback spots because they've lost A.J. Terrell for a bit with a hamstring injury, and their number 2 corner was already a question mark coming into the season just because of track record. And now their number 2 is their number 1, and their number, so that's the one potential weakness of this group, and those guys have got to cover Tetero and McMillan this week. But outside of that, this defense has looked really impressive.
Yeah, they really have. Love what I've seen from Atlanta. I thought overall played very well against the Bucs in week 1 and really dominated Minnesota in week 2. And they're getting pressure from different places. I've mentioned Divine Diablo's name a ton here for the Falcons, playing linebacker, him and Caden Ellis as an excellent 1-2 punch so far, playing linebacker, and then their ability to just move their edge rushers around. I mentioned James Pierce. I mentioned all their edge rushers having linebacker-type bodies. It's not like 1-for-1. I mean, James Pierce is still an edge rusher. He's just a slightly smaller edge rusher. Jalen Walker is a legitimate hybrid. So they're creating indecision from offensive lines. They're blitzing extremely well, and they're winning one-on-ones. So they're doing a lot, Atlanta, up front. So I love the way that pass rush is going, and they will need it. If they're missing Terrell, it's a tough one because he's been there. Their top corner for a while.
But that pressure, could hide an awful lot on the back end. I mean, James Pierce, NGS says he has the 5th highest pressure rate of any player in the NFL this season, up at 24%. That's pretty insane. So, and he's obviously not just the only guy that's winning. If you're getting pressure that much, you can hide a lot of bad coverage.
And you're talking about Carolina, one of their strengths last year, after having one of the worst offensive lines for a few years, they were pretty good in pass pro last year, but they've been banged up on their offensive line. And, Bryce Young's turnovers have been an issue, putting the ball on the turf multiple times this year. Is it 3 total fumbles off the top of my head? We're at the time of the season when I think I have all the numbers in my head. I think he has 3 fumbles, right? At least 2. 1 in each of the last 2 weeks. Either way, you've got some injuries up front, or an injury up front at center. So the pass rush for Atlanta, Bryce got to take better care of the football.
Yeah.
Generally. And then Carolina's offense got to find a consistent complement to Tetero and McMillan. I think Hunter Renfrow is what he is in the slot. But McMillan, as your go-to guy, you need more from Xavier Legette, who had the -2 yards on 8 targets last week. Need more consistent options here for Bryce Young so we can get rid of the ball and feel good about it. I think Bryce has played okay. It's one of those okay outside of the turnovers. The turnovers have been bad. He's had some ugly throws in there, putting the ball on the turf, as I mentioned. But, again, it's the standard being, we've seen him being like, you might not be able to play in the NFL at all. So we're not at that. He's still throwing with some anticipation. He's still getting the ball to his receivers at times. But the turnovers, they could have killed him so far.
Well, last week was weird because it felt like garbage time right up until it wasn't, Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, they're actually – they have the ball back and they could win the game.
And then Arizona cracked down again.
Right. But basically right up until that point, it kind of felt like garbage time.
And so Carolina's offense in 2 weeks did very little against Jacksonville. The only time that they consistently moved the ball with Arizona was when they were down 2 or 3 scores.
Yeah, it's like he put up 300
Every
yards.
Every time they're in a normal game flow situation, the Carolina offense has struggled.
But did that mean anything at all? Or was it just that Cardinals took their foot off the gas and couldn't really locate it until late in the game when they really needed to. So, yeah, I mean, he's got to play better. It's unfortunate, again, this has happened with Bryce Young and with Caleb Williams in Chicago, where it's like the offseason moves, like the personnel, the on paper, both years look like they've really helped, move things in his direction massively. And in both cases, it looks like it's not working for 2 straight years. Tetero McMillan looks like a really good addition for them, but they're just getting zero from Xavier Leggett. You traded away Adam Thielen, so now you're relying on a Hunter Renfrow, at least until Jalen Coker gets back, and that I don't think is a quick fixing injury that he's got, so that's going to be a while. Like, until they get Coker back in the lineup, minimum, they just don't have enough around him.
Other side of the ball, Drake London, 30% target share this year, 11th highest in the NFL per next gen, going up against J.C. Horn. Horn's had a really nice start to the season for the Panthers. I'm worried about the Panthers' pass rush. Again, only 1 sack, lowest in the NFL, and just general pressure. So they're not there yet from a pass rush perspective in Carolina. And then they had at least one game last year where I think the 1-2 punch of Bijan and Tyler Algier, I think they both went over 100 against Carolina in one of their matchups. Now you've got Derek Brown back at least for Carolina this season. But, man, Atlanta, when we talk about multiple ways to win, Atlanta has some of those games where they don't even need the quarterback. They can run Bijan Robinson and Algier. I think Bijan looks outstanding so far, and Algier is just a nice little power back complement to that. So I think that's going to be tough to stop for Carolina. The 2 backs, and then, Penix hasn't really opened it up yet, but I still think they have that in them to get the ball down the field as Mooney gets more, acclimated to coming off his injury, and then, Drake London on the other side.
So it's an interesting matchup for them on that side of the ball because they're going up against Carolina, who still doesn't really have a huge amount of pass rushing presence. They are banged up front as well. It's the banged up part might actually improve them. Like, they might be forced into playing the rookies that haven't seen the field much, so maybe that'll spark something. The Falcons are one of these interesting teams where, Ben Baldwin does these kind of composite rankings and various things where he pulls together PFF and SIS and ESPN and blah, 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 and tries to create like an aggregate type of deal. But sometimes you get where the number is very different because of the methodologies.
Especially through 2 weeks, but yeah.
Of course, yeah. But the Falcons have one of the best sort of composite scores of pass protection ratings, but the PFF grade is very low. And whereas the SIS, they have, I think, the best pass blocking number by SIS. I would suggest, because of the way PFF tracks pressure and that kind of thing, I would suggest that is an indication that the personnel is not actually playing that well, but the offense overall is getting good results from it, which is effectively, it's a scheme data point.
Getting rid of the ball.
But it means that it's functioning, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to function even better if they go up against a team like Carolina that can't get pressure.
Right. So it's a good one. Remember, last time we saw this matchup, Week 18 last year, Falcons had a playoff spot on the line. They needed to win. They also needed the Bucs to lose. And it was an absolute shootout, right? Part of our optimism for both Michael Penix and Bryce Young was watching them in this shootout. Bryce Young had already put together a few good games. But he was throwing the ball down the field, making a ton of plays. Michael Penix was going throw for throw. I think he had, 5 or 6 big-time throws in there. An outstanding Week 18 matchup between these two teams. Neither offense has been that. They haven't been explosive through the air through 2 weeks, but I think they do have it in them. So another game, I'm looking forward to it Sunday at 1. I think it'll be a good one. And when we talk about what it means, look, Atlanta, I still think they're the best threat to the Bucs in the NFC South. And then Carolina, I mean, you don't want to fall to 0-3, obviously. In a season when you're supposed to be, they showed signs of life in the second half last year. You're supposed to be on the upswing to start 0-3.
Yeah.
Just a massive uphill battle when you're trying to show improvement across this roster in year 3 with Bryce Young at the helm. Atlanta by 5.5 here, Sam.
Going with the Falcons, win and cover.
Man, I hate 5.5. How many games are 5.5 this week? Give me Atlanta. Give me Atlanta. Harry's going to take Atlanta too, but home underdogs, Carolina. I mean, they could keep it close.
Sure.
I think we'll have a good game though. Mm-hmm. New York Jets at the Bucs. Bucks favored by 6.5 here. Tyrod Taylor's going to get the start for the Jets. Justin Fields in concussion protocol and already ruled out for this game. So Bucks are 2-0. Jets are 0-2. Over-under is 44.5. It's Sunday at 1. Bucks have another offensive line injury. Cody Mock, knee surgery. He's out for the season. They already lost. Tristan Wirfs has been out the last few weeks, and Luke Gedeke left the game, their right tackle, the other night. I don't see him on the injury report.
And he'd been hurt going into it.
Yeah, he's been banged up. So I'm not sure what happens there with Gedeke. But all the more impressive that Baker Mayfield did what he did in the comeback attempt.
Yeah.
The comeback against the Texans on Monday Night Football.
What, was it the fourth down, that play where the pocket is just collapsing in around him? He gets out of it, escapes, makes a play, scrambling. I mean, he's been extremely good despite a lot more pressure than you would be accustomed to within that Tampa Bay offense. I do have a little concern nagging in the back of the brain, knowing how Baker Mayfield has reacted to pressure in the past, and certainly a sustained amount of it over a period of time. I worry about him developing bad habits a little bit more than other quarterbacks, just because we've seen it happen before. But maybe he's just developed beyond that. Maybe he's just a different player now, and that's not a thing. And it's only, you're just sort of remembering pattern recognition based off his early career with the Browns. But yeah, he's been extremely impressive given the problems that they have on the offensive line, which aren't going away anytime soon. Like, there's a good offensive line in there somewhere, but it's very banged up at the moment.
And the Jets have, they have the Quinn Williams, Will McDonald. They have guys, Jermaine Johnson, the guys that can get after the quarterback. So I'm torn on this one, Sam. My priors are that the Jets are going to be feisty and competitive, and week one they were, but in a completely different way than I expected, right? Through an explosive passing attack. Their offense, as good as the Jets' offense was in week one, it was that bad in week two, where they couldn't do much at all, both on the ground or through the air. And, is that just Bills know them, divisional game, whatever it might be. But, the Jets, if they can run the ball, shorten up the game, Tyrod Taylor play his game manager style where he doesn't turn the ball over.
I have no idea what to expect from Tyrod Taylor. Like, on the one hand, every time he comes in the game as a backup, he just scores a touchdown, executes a touchdown drive. Also, there was a period of time in his career where he was a starter for, several years. He was the guy that sort of broke the duck for the Bills of getting, putting them in the playoffs, not Josh Allen. Josh Allen then came in and built on top of that. But it had started with Tyrod Taylor, and he was a good, efficient quarterback at that time who, the ceiling was a lot lower than other quarterbacks, but he was a pretty good player. And then he got another opportunity in Cleveland, and he looked non-functional. He looked abysmal. And Baker Mayfield coming in, created a spark. And I don't know if that's just what Cleveland does to quarterbacks. Like, somebody joked the other day that it'll never stop being funny that people talk about what a comeback story Baker Mayfield is, and the thing he's coming back from is simply having been a Cleveland Brown quarterback. But I don't know if that's what being on the Browns does to a guy. But a lot of Tyrod Taylor's career has looked pretty good, but the stuff that hasn't has looked awful.
Yeah, and when you don't see a guy consistently for, 4 years now, 5 years, it is tough to know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, or what he's developed into or what he's become. I mean, he's 36 years old now. Who knows if he's the same guy he was when he was 32.
Has he lost 4 steps since the last time he was a starter? It's tough to tell. He's looked pretty decent as a backup every time he came in last year for Aaron Rodgers, whatever it might be. So Tyrod's a bit of a wild card, golden age of backup quarterback play right now because he's good. He's got a good history there. And then Tampa Bay, as a 2-0 team, again, it's just funny when teams are 1-1 or 2-0, and it's like you completely change perception based off a couple plays in the first 2 weeks. Tampa Bay is literally a couple ways away from being 0-2, but they made those plays late in the game. Baker Mayfield leading late drives, late in the fourth quarter, under a minute. I think it was the first time in NFL history a team has done that. So on one hand, credit the Bucs and the way Baker Mayfield, as you mentioned on the recap show the other day, has become that guy that you just trust in those situations where early in his career he did not have that at all. You just trust him to be able to make those plays. He started that probably 2 years ago. Pretty much since he's become a Buck, he's been pretty clutch in those late game situations.
I mean, they've been the Dave Canales year, I think, where they were like the best third down team in the NFL for a mile. And it was like, is that Canales? Is that Baker Mayfield? What is it? But they've been, I think, the best third down team in the NFL basically since that point.
Yeah.
The Bucs have been like, so it's Baker Mayfield has consistently been really good on those third down situations. Late in the game as well. He's had a bunch of comebacks. He's been really impressive. Plus, this week we are getting creamsicle Bucs uniforms.
Oh, changes everything.
Did you see my tweet? I put out a tweet yesterday. Using the meme of the guy in the town hall meeting thing, giving his take.
Yeah. The guy that some people thought was Abraham Lincoln.
It does look a lot like Abraham Lincoln. To the point where it's very difficult to find that if you don't, I don't know what to search for to look for that picture.
Guy standing up meme.
Right. I would suggest, I put it to you, Stephen, that if the Bucs had not been the worst team in the NFL for basically the entirety of the creamsicle uniform era, the creamsicle uniforms would be looked on the same way as the Chargers powder blues right now. They would be just one of the best uniforms in the NFL. And the only reason they're not is because they're tainted by just how ass the Bucs were.
I agree. As soon as they pivoted to pewter,
they got good.
Yeah,
literally the same year.
Pewter ascent, like they were winning Super Bowls.
They got Derek Brooks
and
Warren Sapp and Rondé Barber basically at the same time as they changed uniforms.
But they had those guys. They were part of the creamsicle era, and then as soon as they threw some pewter pants on, they were unbelievable. So I agree.
It was also it was year 2 or whatever, those guys, and they all developed and they became Hall of Famers.
That's what it was. It timed up with their primes. I think that's a good take. I think we need a creamsicle versus powder blue matchup. Actually, we need that matchup.
I'm just saying. I think they're genuinely elite uniforms, and the only reason they're not seen that way is because they're tainted by how bad the Bucs were for basically the entire time they were wearing them.
Anyway, I think the Bucs, very good team. They're out without Kalijah Cansey now. He's out for the season with a torn pec. Just something else to keep an eye on the Bucs defensive front here.
Papa Joe in the chat says Norman Rockwell 4 Freedoms is the name of the painting / meme.
Really?
I didn't know it was an actual. I mean, obviously it's a painting, but I didn't know it was like a.
Who started? I need a history of memes, who did it first? Who started this thing? All right, man. Bucks by 6.5. We were asked to do a social media post where we all made a pick, and I said Bucks. So I'll stick with the Bucks.
Yeah, you should do that. I also am going with the Bucks, though I didn't select it for that social media post.
Harry's taking the Jets.
Creamsicle, undefeated.
Creamsicle. They're wearing the white creamsicle or the. So I saw pictures of the white going around, not the orange.
They have I
assume it's
a white creamsicle.
Well, it's like white with creamsicle trim. Like that's what they.
No, I know. Like one obviously existed back in the day because it was their regular uniform. But
I assume it's the full orange creamsicle.
Yeah, they don't
home jersey.
There's no way they have an away throwback.
Probably not. But they used to wear white at home sometimes too. Like all the Florida teams, you wear white at home because of the sun. Anyway, Green Bay Packers at the Cleveland Browns. Packers favored by 7.5 here in Cleveland, over under just 41.5 because the Packers defensive juggernaut is coming to town against Joe Flacco's Browns.
Oh God, I just thought Micah Parsons going up against DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, what do you think?
That has nightmare written all over it.
He's got to play a little quick. DeJuan's okay in pass pro.
He is, but can you imagine a worse stylistic matchup to put him up against than
no? Can the Packers keep this dominance going against the Browns?
I don't see any reason why not. I mean, they look phenomenal on both sides of the ball. As we said, like what's most impressive, or maybe not most, what's very impressive about it is there's things that aren't working for them, and they're still dominating people. Matthew Golden has yet to really catch fire in terms of production. He's been open a lot. They haven't been able to connect. The offensive line has been dealing with some injuries. Like there are reasons to think this team can and will be better as they go along, and yet they've murdered 2 teams.
They have. Now, this is one of those, like I'm buying in. They've looked legit. How much do your priors come in here? We didn't think the Packers were going to be this good. So do they ever come back down to earth, or are you like, hey, the Parsons thing really has this residual effect on everyone else in the defense. They're playing fast. They're playing downhill. They're putting a ton of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And it's not uncanny to see Jordan Love playing the way he is right now, outside of, 2 or 3 bad decisions in 2 games? Unreal. Ball placement down the field, some of the throws that he's made. We've always said he has that high-end potential in him. We saw it for about an 8 to 10 game stretch in 2023. Rarely saw it last year, and it's back. Jordan Love's healthy, and he's back, and he's making big-time throws. And, You're spreading the ball around to all the playmakers in Green Bay. So there was a world where this could play out like this, but this has got to be, even for optimistic Packers fans, at the high end of what you may have expected at the beginning of the season to look like.
Yeah, but because the baseline, I think, was so high, there's no reason to think, I think, that it's destined to come back down to earth or that this is an unsustainable or unrealistic level that they're attaining right now. This was, I mean, even just think of last year's team, and it's never exactly like this, but last year's team was in that good but not great world where they basically beat everybody except the 3 elite teams in the NFC. It doesn't take that much to add to that and put them into that group of the elite teams in the NFC. And maybe Michael Parsons on his own is enough to do that so far through 2 weeks. He's kind of looking like he is. But I don't think that that's necessarily something that's going to go away. I mean, this team could easily be one of the best teams in the NFC.
Browns defense has been pretty good through 2 weeks here. Again, the scoreboard said 41 against the Ravens last week, but there was a block punt, short field. There was a fumble return for a touchdown, and overall, snap for snap, they've played pretty good football. They're also, again, playing more man coverage or as much man coverage, straight up cover one, as any other team in the league. I always talk about man coverage, I think, leads to levels of volatility, right? You can get off the field. If you just play snug coverage across the board, you can get off the field. You might not force a ton of turnovers, but you're just making completions more difficult if you play it well. If you play it poorly, you give up a lot as well. So I feel like this is one of those games where maybe they can keep it close because of their style. They've got a good pass rush right now. Myles Garrett looks as good as ever.
Yeah.
And the Browns defense might be able to hang early on. It's just a matter of, fluky or not, the Browns have had a ton of turnovers on their offense the first 2 weeks, and if they do that, I mean, they don't have a shot.
Yeah, you have to bring up any time they're playing, they are bringing the best defensive player in the game to the table anytime, right?
Yep.
That's important. Whether or not it's enough is completely different, but you're going into any game, Myles Garrett is a significant factor. I mean, he got 1.5 sacks, 2 sacks against Ronnie Stanley. Got a bunch of pressure, had a ton of pressure in week 1 as well. Now he's going up against, the weakest player maybe on that offensive line is at that left tackle spot, theoretically, or it's certainly an area that they can attack. So, yeah, Myles Garrett, it's a problem. You got to work around that.
Papa Joe's giving us the whole history of Norman Rockwell paintings from 1943, with freedom of speech being the most popular meme/painting.
Okay.
We're getting a whole history of everything Rockwell did in 1943, and that's why I appreciate our viewers and listeners.
I appreciate it a lot. I would say that my interest in that is very limited, but by all means, read it in the chat.
You're less interested in that than this Packers-Browns game?
Yes, I am.
7.5. There's a lot of big spreads for road favorites here.
Yeah.
This week. Those are always tricky. Always tricky to navigate.
Yep. We got a touchdown pass from Dylan Gabriel. I wonder if we see him at the end of this game as well, and suddenly the campaign begins to mount a little bit. If he can come in, lead a garbage time touchdown drive.
You don't want Dylan Gabriel's first start to be against the Packers, so I don't know who they have next week. We at least have to delay that.
But, if the Packers are winning by multiple scores, it's garbage time. Why not throw out Gabriel and see if he can make another touchdown drive late in the game? And suddenly then you start to get an interesting when does he come in?
We're at the point in the season where, of course, if the Browns lose, they fall to 0-3, and you're on, number 1 overall pick watch, which was somewhat expected. Them, the Saints, being in that mix
with an extra first rounder in there as well, just to guarantee you have the shot at anybody.
With an extra first rounder, they're rooting for Jacksonville like that. They were loving the Bengals win last week, helping their draft stock.
Meanwhile, every draft eligible quarterback in college football is playing like crap.
And Green Bay's in this. Hey, we got to take care of business. Don't slip up. Get number 1 seeds and division titles and things to think about if you're in Green Bay, even as early as week 3. 7.5 here. Where are you going to go?
I don't like it, but I'm saying the Packers will cover that.
I'm going to take Cleveland here. I'm going to take Cleveland to cover the 7.5. We got to clarify here. People, you picked Cleveland to win. To just be within 7.5 here. Picking against the spread.
Well, it's a 40-year-old solidarity thing. You and old man Joe.
Oh, why'd you have to bring up Joe? I want to flip my pick. Harry's going to take Green Bay, but I'll take Cleveland as home dogs, man.
Joseph Vincent Flacco.
Some good games this week. Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, that's fun.
2-0 Chargers, 1-1 Broncos. Very close to be. This should have been 2-0 versus 2-0 if you're a Denver fan. You're one leverage play away from this being a battle for first place.
Yeah,
in
that
the
would be
AFC
some impressive
West.
billing, all right.
If the Chargers win, they'll have a temporary, at least 2.5 game lead over the Chiefs.
Insurmountable.
Yeah, I said temporary, not insurmountable. Chargers favored by 2.5 here. Over under 45.5. Sunday 4:05. A 4:05, not even a 4:25 start for this game. What are they doing?
Story of the defenses, I think. You've
Yeah.
got absolutely insane, dominant pass rushing, sack artist type of defense in Denver, and then you've got this stifling, suffocating, defense with the Chargers that just kills anything deep down the field. Almost pushes Bo Nix back into early rookie Bo Nix, where he averaged at the target was like 5 yards, and he was scrambling for all the positive yardage. This is going to be a pretty interesting battle of defenses, I think.
The Chargers have that kind of defense. This happens all the time. When I look at defenses, sometimes you have the pass rush dictating the action, making things easier for the back seven. Sometimes you have the pass rush is okay, but the back seven just does such a good job of not allowing passing windows, not allowing big plays. I feel like this version is the latter, which is the Chargers back seven, keeping the top on the defense, not allowing big plays, not allowing a lot of open windows. It's so fascinating watching teams week to week sometimes when with bad defenses, it feels like they're playing with 9 guys sometimes. It's like, how are these players wide open? The first completion the Packers had last Thursday night, big completion against Washington. Tucker Kraft ran straight and no one covered him. And he had like a 57-yarder or whatever. And then you play a team like the Chargers, and it's like there is someone within 2 steps of every single pass. There's always a couple in there. There's a couple freebies, but not many. And so that's how the Chargers are playing right now. It's not a dominant pass rush up front. It's just the way Jesse Minter has the back seven playing and not giving up big plays and contesting every throw, working downhill, making tackles. They're playing it extremely well. I think that's going to be a challenge for this Denver offense. I think it's going to be a big challenge moving the ball through the air against the Chargers. They're going to need the run game. They're going to need their week 1 run game where they had a couple big runs in there. They're going to need a few of those.
Going to need Troy Franklin. That's what you're going to need.
And they need Troy Franklin. I saw our friend Josh Norris. I don't know if when he does this, I can't tell if this is him saying, I'm not a Troy Franklin fan. But he was like, he had 7 catches, and it was like 3 were schemed up, and this was a busted coverage, and this was a scramble drill.
You look through his sort of reel.
Oh, I know.
It's
it's reality,
yeah.
But I can't tell if Josh is being like, this is fool's gold, not so much a breakout. And it's the right way to analyze these things, right? Like we use target share and target rate and all these different things, especially from a fantasy perspective. But if it's, like 6 scramble drills, it's like that's not sustainable. That's not the offense running through that guy.
Yeah, but I mean, even during his rookie season where everything was bad, he was open a lot. I don't know if it's weird witchcraft or whatever it is, but the guy does seem to be open regularly. Whether or not he's winning to get open or not, he is consistently open without anybody near him. And that's something, that they should exploit more.
See if he can get behind this Chargers defense. So it's a great matchup. I think Denver's going to have to get the run game going. It's just it's a slow, inconsistent start for Bo Nix, which is a similar start to last year. But it made more sense last year as a rookie finding his way. And then, by the end of the season, there was a lot of optimism. He had the 4-touchdown game against Kansas City's backups, and, things were better. But, yeah, Bo Nix has to play better, man.
Nick Bonito going up against Joe Alt.
Love that matchup.
Pretty fun one-on-one matchup. Joe Alt just looked like one of the best left tackles in the NFL through 2 weeks. I mean, he looked like one of the best right tackles in the NFL when he was on that side as a rookie. So that will be pretty fun to see if Bonito, who's been really, really good as a pass rusher, can get any joy out of him.
And then just overall, the Chargers missing Khalil Mack now. He had that rough injury. If you guys were up late Monday Night Football watching him, dislocated elbow, I believe it was. He was holding his wrist, but his elbow.
Coming back, and they put him on IR, but he's basically coming back, I think, after the IR.
They kept showing the replay. It looked like a broken arm to me.
Which they never normally do.
They just kept going back to it.
It's like we're not going to show you this because it looks nasty.
That one,
it's like, let's watch his arm snap sideways because why not?
It was awful. By the way, just for Bo Nix, last year was the time early in the season, he had week 1, 138 yards on 42 attempts. Then week 2 had some struggles against the Steelers. Had 4 picks through 2 games last year. And then in week 3 shows up at Tampa Bay in a game where there's no way the Broncos are going to beat the Bucs, and they did. And Bo Nix had like his breakout game. Like, hey, I can play here. So you don't know. Like when you look at 2-week trends, is my point. Like it doesn't really matter going into week 3. So he could play well, but it's a challenging week 3 game for a guy like Nix that's been so inconsistent.
I do wonder if he's going to lean on his scrambling though a lot more in this game. I mean, number one, that tends to be where he goes when he's in trouble. Like lean back on that, and that's where we can get some positive play. Number 2, I think the Chargers are inviting you to do that a bit. Mahomes did that, in week 1 when he was struggling against this defense.
It's also where the Chargers are usually good. Like I highlight this all the time. They do a lot of the add-on rusher stuff where they kind of invite you to see a rushing lane and then condense it. They do a really good job usually of containing scrambling quarterbacks. They didn't against Mahomes in week 1, though.
And if you do have a quarterback that's athletic with a good feel for this kind of thing, they are going to let you do that a bit. So you might be able to have some joy there, but they are good at preparing for it.
And then the other side of the ball, like the Broncos pass rush is still legit. I don't know. The Chargers' offensive line beyond Alt, there's some questions there. So I think the Broncos can get some pressure. But the Chargers' offense, the pass game in particular, we talked about on the recap show, this Quentin Johnston's been deep threat, shallow crosses. Great. Fits his skill set extremely well. Keenan Allen's been the possession guy, and Ladd McConkey can do it all, win at all levels of the field, especially the intermediate level. They have answers with their top 3 receivers right now. So, and Herbert's just playing really good football. He had one awful decision in there that didn't come back to bite, where he just kind of panicked under pressure. Other than that, I think he's done a good job taking care of the ball, using his legs when needed. This could be a game where the pass rush could get there, and it's going to be Herbert creating, and he's looked fast. I mean, people forget when he's healthy, he's really fast and just outruns contain sometimes, as he did against the Chiefs to finish that game in week 1. So this could be a game with Herbert's legs have to come into play as well.
Definitely. I mean, his scrambling has been pretty impressive. He is so much more athletic, I think, than people give him credit for. It's really, from the moment he's come into the NFL, he consistently has been that guy that surprises every time you see him with how impressive his physical traits are, even for a guy who you knew he had impressive physical traits coming in. But remember his first couple of years in the NFL, it was jarring how much further the ball would fly than you think it should based off the time he's throwing. Like that
RPMs and carry.
Yeah,
for Herbert.
Carry with the ball, and then his actual speed when he takes off and what he can do. Like he is a healthy Justin Herbert, I think, is putting himself in that group of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
It's a good start to the season for our boss, Mike Tannenbaum, and some of his quarterback convictions. He had the Jordan Love MVP take on TV, and he is a huge Justin Herbert fan. So Herbert and Love, we need a Chargers-Packers Super Bowl for Mike. Justification.
We mentioned the Nick Bonito-Joe Alt matchup. NGS, according to NGS, Nick Bonito leads the league with 15 total pressures, and Joe Alt has allowed the lowest pressure rate among all tackles this season.
Love it.
So number 1 versus number 1.
It's a great matchup. It should be 425, not 405. It shouldn't be this, hey, I got the ones are finishing, and I got to make sure that this game's on. It shouldn't have to do that with this AFC West matchup.
And that's one of those ones where a lot of times, the pass rusher moves all over the place. Nick Bonito generally plays on the left tackle basically the entire time. So they are going to match up pretty much the entire game.
Was there one other thing I wanted to add on this? I don't remember.
Who knows?
I love the AFC West this year, by the way, though. I mean, Pete Carroll and the Raiders. Now you've got Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton going at it. It's a lot of fun, that whole division. Chargers have a chance to really make another statement. We've done like this. What are the implications here? Chargers' 3rd straight division game. This is their chance to defeat the Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos.
If they
every division rival.
If they win this game and look reasonable doing it, this is a game where the Chargers can say we are an elite contender right now. Like we are one of the teams to beat this season. if Green Bay does the same thing, I think they could do it. Philadelphia, same. If they have a resounding win, they can say, look, we're still the Super Bowl champions. But people I think are going to take some time to come around to the idea that the Chargers are like elite. This is the type of game that could put them there pretty publicly.
Little minor storyline, too. A lot of people mocked Amarian Hampton to Denver with their running back need in the first round. Hampton, of course, with the Chargers. Broncos got R.J. Harvey in the second round. See if the rookie running backs play a factor.
And do they put Amarian Hampton in the doghouse a bit for fumbling? Even though it was, it was his fault, but it
was. I thought it was a better game from him, though. Running hard,
Same.
Finishing plays.
I think it would be a mistake to do that, but it's the kind of thing that happens sometimes.
2 mistakes in 2 weeks for Hampton. Running out of bounds before the half against the Chiefs and then the fumble. But I think I love the way he ran. I think he adds a little something, a little juice to the offense out of the backfield. All right, man. Chargers by 2.5.
Chargers, win and cover.
Same. Taking the Chargers to win and cover. And Harry's going to take Denver to win this one, or at least cover the 2.5. 1, 2, 3 games left. That's not bad. Doing all right. New Orleans Saints at the Seattle Seahawks, also 4:05 on Sunday. Seahawks favored by 7.5. Seahawks 1-1. Saints are 0-2.
Yeah, it's a big line.
Big line in Seattle where funky stuff happens.
That's true.
In Seattle,
Seahawks
in the 4 o'clock window.
This is the Kevin Clark tweet, right?
Yeah.
The Seahawks can just never play a normal game. Comes back every year. This is when it's coming back. September the 21st is when it's going to get dropped. Look, the Saints have been a lot more respectable than I think. Certainly, I was expecting them to be, and some other people as well. Spencer Rattler has looked good. However, he's now going up against this Seattle defense that's pretty nasty. Can generate a ton of pressure. Can put you under in pressurized situations. It's a tough ask for him. Seattle is better. They should win the game, but that's quite a lot of points.
It is. I think Seattle, they got the run game going with Ken Walker last week. That was nice. Zach Charbonnet is a little banged up, so we might see even more of a heavy workload from Walker in this one. And I think they could have some success against the Saints up front. And, Seattle's defensive front, man, I just think they're good. I think they could create some havoc. Challenge for the 2 young tackles with the Saints. Talise Fuaga has been banged up. He's got 2 different injuries right now, 3 weeks into the season. He's got the Herbert, right? Herbert had more. Yeah. He had more injuries than touchdown passes at one point last year, I think. Fuaga's got 2 injuries in 2 weeks, knee and back, but trying to play through that. We'll see what ends up happening there. So I think Seattle's defense has a chance to cause some havoc, and it's another week where I think if you are a Saints fan, maybe you're rooting for Rattler to continue to show that he can be good, and as you get better pieces around him and a little bit more consistency, that he's a guy that you could maybe is the future, and you don't have to draft a quarterback next year, where all the draftable quarterbacks have been underwhelming so far.
Yeah, I mean that may be a benefit to it is if this ends up being a class where we just don't like any of the quarterbacks, maybe you would be prepared to go with Rattler for another year. But yeah, I mean, look, if he's able to continue this, he's looked pretty good. As you said, we've mentioned before, he was a guy that at one point in time was, seen as a sort of top tier potential prospect coming out. He had one of those careers where it was sort of slightly weird. His best years were not the final years, and we've debated what to do with that kind of information. But he's got physical tools. He's got athleticism. He's got enough arm to be a good player. He's got one of those aesthetically extremely pleasing throwing mechanisms. Like, he just looks nice, just smooth. But he's looked good. It is a much more difficult ask, though, this week, and that I think is that's his issue.
Saints pass rush is a concern. Carl Granderson, I believe, forgive me, I believe he's tied for the league lead with 3.5 sacks. That's 4 times tackling the quarterback.
Yes.
I believe he's tied with Myles Garrett, who has also tackled the quarterback 4 times to equal 3.5 sacks. So it's kind of Granderson and no one else as far as creating consistent pressure up front. So I think Sam Darnold has a chance to have a good game here. JSN, who looked great. They got more from Cooper Kupp last week. So I think Seattle has a chance to get the offense on track a bit more here at home.
Yep. Granderson, Myles Garrett, and Harold Landry all tied with 3.5 sacks.
And Landry. And I think Landry Yes, they've all tackled the quarterback 4 times apiece.
Granderson, though, has done it on the fewest pass rushes.
There you go. All right, man, 7.5. Is that a lot for this one? Saints have played within a score in each of their first 2 games, but they're both in the Dome? Where were they last week?
It is a lot. I just feel that Seahawks defense may cause all kinds of problems, though. And if they do, I don't think the Saints defense is good enough to slow down Seattle. It's a lot, but I think Seattle covers it.
Yeah, I'll also take Seattle. And what did Harry have here? I lost his pick. He's going New Orleans. Harry's going way more underdogs now.
Ballsy.
Going with the underdog strategy. 2 more games. Look at this 2-0 versus 2-0 game.
2 games. Thought it was 2 last time.
No, there's 3 last time. Now there's 2. God. They're good ones too. They're all good games. I'm loving this week. Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. This is your 425 matchup this week. Niners favored by 2.5. A battle for first place in the NFC West, but with the 2 undefeated teams here.
Yeah. I mean, San Francisco winning games despite, being banged up everywhere, not having their quarterback. The Mac Jones experience, it looked pretty good, actually. Christian McCaffrey looking like the one player that's actually healthy from that team. It's been great from San Francisco's perspective in terms of, look, they're getting wins when you would easily excuse defeats. So from that perspective, it's great. But at some point, they're actually going to need all these guys back and healthy and firing. Whereas the Cardinals, they look pretty good.
Both of these teams, the Cardinals beat the Saints and the Panthers. So there's that.
Yeah.
And the 49ers had their 1 win against the Saints last week with Mac Jones. Thought Mac Jones and the offense looked pretty good. And, getting the ball out, getting the ball to playmakers. Brock Purdy's just coming back to practice right now. I don't think that's enough for him to get onto the field, but you're, working him back in to hopefully get back within a few weeks. And so it's still Mac Jones running the show here. And I think that's a nice matchup against Arizona's defense that is creating a bit more pressure, one-on-one than they have in the past, and they still have that element of being able to pick their spots from a blitz perspective, mix things up, some hybrid players with Zaven Collins out there. Love what Arizona does defensively to kind of keep offenses off balance. This one with Jonathan Gannon, when he was completely outmanned against the Niners, gave the Niners some problems. That's the thing that always sticks in my head and had me very optimistic about the Arizona Cardinals with the added talent this year.
No, they've massively upgraded the talent, and I think you can see that having an effect. They are a much better team than they were with all these upgrades. I think that's absolutely for real. It was one of those where the scheme was doing wonders and the players weren't quite able to match it. Now the players are getting pretty close to that level, so it's just a really good defense.
It is. We'll continue the Kyler Marvin Harrison Jr. watch. I loved what we saw week 1, week 2. It wasn't even not on the same page stuff. Just Marvin Harrison Jr. with a drop, and they just didn't target him a ton. Didn't need him, but I still think he has a chance to be really good. And we'll keep an eye on it here.
Kyler's getting the ball out of his hands fast through 2 weeks. Like he's one of the lowest average time to throws in the NFL through 2 weeks. Usually, Kyler Murray's not at the sharp end of that statistic. I don't know if that's just who they've been playing and they've been able to put the ball in the air quickly against defenses that aren't particularly good, or if that's a concerted effort by this team to say, let's get Kyler processing quickly, let's get the ball out fast. If he has to scramble and make something crazy happen late in the down, cool, but let's not live in that world.
Yeah, and one of the plays, he had the long scramble last week, but he also had the play where he held the ball, one of the plays where he held the ball forever, scrambled to his left, and had the interception that kind of let Carolina get back into it. When he plays with it himself and picks his spots running, he is dangerous. Man.
Yeah,
he is very dangerous.
A huge part of Trey McBride is leading the team in targets again. Obviously, tight ends generally are lower average depth of target. Generally, the ball is coming out quicker. So it's just interesting. I don't know how much of that is sort of a conscious, deliberate, strategy with Kyler, or simply McBride is their best player right now. We're feeding the ball through him. That's going to result in a faster average time to throw, and that's just it's a product rather than a deliberate plan.
Arizona's defense, by the way, has Josh Sweat and Baron Browning with 10 pressures, 9 pressures. They're both getting a lot of heat. Calais Campbell has a couple sacks up front. I really like this Arizona pass rush. They've done it with smoke and mirrors the last couple of years. Now they've got the dudes up front to create pressure, plus the smoke and mirrors. And they got 1 week of film on Mac Jones in the system here.
Yeah, I mean
1 week to help.
They do some similar things to Flores in terms of they use a ton of creepers, but they also use a ton of drop everybody. And the challenge obviously is always like, which one is happening right now? Am I getting blitzed to hell, or are they dropping everybody out and I'm about to throw the ball right to a dropping defensive lineman? So they do that's the smoke and mirror stuff. So in addition to having much improved personnel, they've got some really smart scheme stuff.
All right, man, let's make some picks. Niners by 2.5 at home here. Where are you going to go? Over under, by the way, just 43.5. There's a few of those games that are going to be leaning on the defensive side, which I do buy into for this one.
I'm going with the Cardinals. I think 49ers have been riding their luck a little bit, and I think Arizona's better.
I'll also take Arizona. Harry's going to take the Niners. Mac Jones believer. All right, man, we got one more game. Unless we forgot one. It's always possible.
Probably did.
Dallas Cowboys at the Chicago Bears.
No.
Sunday, 4:25. 1-1 Cowboys at the 0-2 Bears. I love this game, too. I can't wait for Sunday. I'm excited for these games. A lot of sneaky good games. Throw the records out the window in these games. It's going to be some good ones. Bears are favored by 1.5 over under 50.5 here.
Yeah. I think this is a big game for certainly Chicago. Like, we expected them to start relatively slowly this year, to maybe underperform, to maybe, midway through the season for this to look a lot better. I do kind of wonder how much time they have before the pressure gets huge. Like, Tyler Dunn, have you read any of his series? He's got this series out on
Saw the snippets.
Caleb Williams and the Chicago. It's just like burying them.
Ryan Poles just re-signed
Yeah.
prior to the season.
Right.
So he's not going anywhere.
But this,
You
like,
think Caleb Williams is going? Because
I don't know.
He's not the problem right now. Caleb.
no, but
The Bears are getting Joe Tooney is under everybody that they've brought in on both lines of scrimmage, and then the rookies. None of their additions are making massive contributions. We'll say.
For the second year in a row.
From Joe Tooney to Jonah Jackson to Grady Jarrett to Dayo Odeyingbo to Luther Burden to Colston Loveland, all of their big free agent signings, plus their first 4 draft picks, are doing very little right now.
Remember last year, the same thing was true. Like, Keenan Allen did nothing. Rome Odunze was okay, but didn't, dominate the way like a Malik Neighbors or even a Brian Thomas Jr. did as rookies, or even a Ladd McConkey. He didn't make that type of impact. It's like the second year in a row where the on-paper additions have looked a lot better than once the rubber meets the road, it just hasn't done it. And when that happens, I think multiple times in a row, you start going, well, what are the common denominators here? One of the common denominators is Caleb Williams, for whom there's also a ton of stuff that, like I said, this Tyler Dunn.
You think nobody wants to play for Caleb?
I don't know what it is.
Are you blaming Grady Jarrett and Dayo Odeyingbo and the lack of a pass rush and the 55 points on defense? Are you blaming all that on Caleb Williams and just straight vibes on that side of the ball?
No, but what I'm saying is the longer things go bad, the more people start looking around for reasons for that to be the case, and in particular, common threads throughout all of the bad. And at the moment, Caleb Williams is one of the common threads throughout all of the bad, and so he's an obvious target for that ire and anger and questioning to go. And in a media market like Chicago, that's going to lead to some extremely awkward periods of time unless they figure something out.
I just saw the piece where they were LOLing at Drake May watching his film. That's weird, man. That's weird. If those are all true, if that is sourced correctly. Now, was that one source? I just saw the snippets of it. Is that
and look,
one
there
source?
are.
I'm a big believer. I know it's like journalistic integrity to have multiple sources. I just think it's a good life integrity to have multiple sources when you hear stuff. It's just a good thing. If that was true, that they were saying Drake May, who's in the mix to be drafted 1, 2, or 3 overall and went number 3, and they were sitting there laughing at his film like, this guy's way worse than the guy we're about to draft, that's absurd.
And there are people that have pushed back a lot on that Tyler Dunn series, just to put that out there. Like, it's not, Tyler Dunn's a good journalist, I think, and does his research and talks to a lot of people, et cetera. There have been people that push back against that and have been like, this is just garbage. So
I'm just saying,
read it yourself, make of it what you will.
I'm just saying, if it is one source,
right now,
who the heck knows?
There's a series of articles he's writing, and it almost universally makes it pans a lot of people involved in this organization right now. And I'm just saying, you can't have too many games like last week where they just get absolutely blown off the park by Detroit before things start to get really uncomfortable.
It's a big vibes and drama game here. It's Dallas, it's Chicago.
Yeah.
I think Rome Odunze looks excellent this year.
Yep.
He's got 3 touchdowns. He looks good after the catch. He looks good down the field. I think Odunze looks fine. I think Caleb Williams looks fine. He missed some open throws in week 1. I think there's reasons for that. I think he looked pretty good last week, but you're playing catch up right immediately in the second half, and it's like half your game is thrown away. So I think Caleb's developing through 2 weeks. It's just, the overall team. I'm disappointed in the defense, man. We talk about this. J.J. McCarthy's played one good quarter. It's like a good half for J.J. The first half of Chicago's season defensively looked outstanding. Now, was that because J.J. McCarthy's rough? I mean, threw a pick 6 to Nashawn Wright. I don't think Nashawn Wright's very good. Is it J.J. McCarthy's fault? Was it the Vikings' fault? But I thought the Bears' front, it was like, wow, they invested well until the last 6 quarters of play, when they blew it against Minnesota and then gave up 55 to Detroit. That defense is a concern.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of these teams where going into the season, it's like they had one good corner and then their one good corner got hurt. And Chicago is one of them. And Jalen Johnson got hurt multiple times before he went down for good. But the NGS has a stat that Jalen Johnson forced 3 tight window targets across basically the handful of snaps he's played this season. The rest of the Bears defense combined has only forced 5 this season.
It's a good stat.
So basically, good cover guy, lockdown corner, nobody else can. So they've lost the one guy that's capable of covering tightly, effectively, and now they just have a group of corners that are all going to get barbecued.
On the other side, and then Caleb Williams, by the way, going up against a Cowboys defense that, again, every outlet tracks these things differently. They have the Cowboys and Next Gen 76 of 78 dropbacks in zone coverage. So this is like, all right, read it out, get the ball to the open man. Dallas has given up a lot this year. They didn't stop the Eagles their first 3 quarters of play. Then there was a thunderstorm that helped them. And then, last week against the Giants, giving up all those big plays. So I think the Bears have a chance to have some success offensively. And then Dak's playing some really good football on the other side, throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, spreading the ball around as he is. Vegas is expecting a shootout, and I could absolutely see that.
Yeah, Dak's been playing really well so far this season. You've got to worry about their offensive line a little bit, but the CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, that combination looks great. They've got weaponry to work with, and Dak Prescott's playing extremely well. Yeah, I think the question becomes, can the Bears offense have sustained success in this game and, take it to Dallas for an entire game and create a shootout? Or, are they too inconsistent where they might have a drive here, but then they'll blow up a drive? Or Dallas is just too consistent relative to their shootout is significantly better than Chicago's side of it.
Dallas missing their starting center, Cooper Beebe, out 6 to 8 weeks. They've got Tyler Guyton, who's been playing banged up all throughout preseason and the beginning of the season, plus just being,
not good.
Not great yet. See, not great. And then Tyler Booker,
I don't think he's even
being
good.
A rookie. Like, there are questions up front. It is impressive that Dallas has created the offense that they have, much like the Bucs, that they've had the success they've had offensively with all of the injuries up front. And poor performance.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Beebe out of the lineup, that becomes an offensive line that might have one good player on it.
Yeah. So
like Tyler Smith, the newly minted.
So that's like, if you're a Bears fan and you're watching Jared and Odiengbo and Montez Sweat's played some good ball. Like, every time I look up, 98's making a play for the Bears. Gervon Dexter's off to a slow start after he had a really nice year. Like, the Bears defensive line needs to step up and make plays in this one.
Yeah, Montez Sweat's been a really good player for them. I saw somebody kind of criticizing the acquisition a bit because, they traded for Montez Sweat, and yet just after that, was it just after the free agency period where you had Jonathan Grenard, Donnell Hunter both move, and it's like, well, you could have just, instead of giving up draft picks, you could have
They gave up a
signed
2
one of those
and
guys.
then signed Sweat to the
Yeah,
big deal.
it's like you could have signed one of those guys instead without giving up a second-round draft pick. I think that's kind of overthinking it a bit. I mean, he's been a really good, important addition and a massive upgrade for this team.
Yeah, the only time he didn't play well and all of his advanced metrics were down last year when he was playing through an ankle injury.
Right.
He missed some time, came back, was still injured. He's been a solid player his entire career. So I don't think he's the problem in Chicago. You still want more from him, but
Sure.
he's not the problem. Anyway, let's pick the game. Bears are favored by 1.5 here. Where are you going to go?
Really? I'm going with Dallas to win outright. Forget covering.
Okay. I'll also take Dallas. You don't think this is the first win for Ben Johnson?
I don't.
Harry's also going to take Dallas. There we go. That's it. Is that all 16 games?
Hopefully.
Quick check. I think we touched on all of them. Only took 6 hours. How long has this show been? When did we start?
Quite a while.
Almost a 3-hour preview show. 2.5. Anyway, a lot of fun here. Appreciate all the new members. Appreciate the Drew Collins.
Yeah.
First, Howard Hughes billionaire tier. They're sitting here from, as of now, this is the Drew Collins Check the Mic studio. Drew Collins studio.
Indeed.
We'll see if he wants a more official name, if he wants a different name.
Well, yeah, he needs to get in contact. Check the mic at the33rdteam.com. Let us know what you would like to name the studio, and we will read that out every single show. If you just wanted your name on the wall, that's our insider tier for memberships. There was a name that came in after yesterday's show that got added to the wall, but in all the technical difficulties this morning, I forgot to record a video evidence of it, so it won't show up on the screen at the
We were
end
just
of this
trying to
show.
get on air this
Right.
morning, you know?
After that, it will show up because it's on the wall right now. I just haven't had a chance to actually film it.
Appreciate all the love from everybody in the chat as well. We love doing this. Love talking football with everybody. Love the interaction with all of our viewers and listeners. By the way, if you do want to join the insider tier, which could be called the Mike Backers soon.
No, that was
I'm sorry, the super fan tier,
Correct.
which might be called the Mike Backers.
Maybe.
Soon.
We'll see.
We'll see. We will be doing a members only watch along next Thursday night. So next week,
power in the building pending.
yeah, well, yeah, as long as they don't turn it off at night
Right.
on a Thursday. Next Thursday night is a Cardinals Seahawks, I believe, is the Thursday night football game. So that's our next scheduled members-only watch-along. Again, if you're not a member, you're not going to lose anything. We'll still go live right after the game, do an instant reaction. You'll get all the same stuff that you always get, but you get some extra perks at the membership tier. So keep an eye on that for next Thursday night. All right. That it for us?
Yep, we out.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again Monday morning, 7 a.m. with our Week 3 NFL review.